and welcome to episode 213 of the FReality Podcast. We hope you're keeping warm and you're ready to play, because it's game on for VR, and we've got a deluge of December news and games for you to be enjoying this month. Here are today's topics. Meta's been monkeying around, while Sony wants to track your every movement. We've got the death of the dodo, the MegaDodo, that is. A quick roundup on awards and award shows. Breachers is an exciting new squad-based alpha that's free on SideQuest. Adam couldn't get enough with her jump experience and has been busy levitating. After that, we come down to earth with Old Town and Saints and Sinners Chapters 2. And at the end of the show, Jose will cover releases for this fortnight's games and DLC. Okay, we're going to run through our highlights, but we like to highlight what you have been playing as well. So let us know in chat, and we'll put you in the spotlight too. It's time for me to introduce the fiery team that is FReality Crew. All right, this lad sports a Quest Pro like it's a fashionable futuristic flat cap. This well-informed industry specialist makes us all feel a little less knowledgeable about technology we thought we knew so well. Here's our very own VR tech. Let's all say hello to Jose. Hey, Jose.
Yo, what's up, you guys? Happy holidays. How you guys doing?
Oh, I'm looking forward to the holiday season, man. Very good.
I'm excited.
I
wasn't feeling, honestly, I wasn't as festive until I saw Adam's background. Honestly, I'm not going to lie. I feel like rewatching that Oculus commercial, the holiday one, yeah. I feel just like it right now.
Had to be prepared. I told you I love Christmas and I wasn't lying.
Oh, see, that's an important transition, because we used to have Nathan with his little Christmas tree in his background for about 3 months every podcast. So Adam, without knowing it, you've put hand in a glove and you've slid right in to the right spot, making us all feel festive and right at home for the holidays.
Oh,
just make sure that you keep it up until March.
About March.
That's a bit much. No guarantees.
That's a cute tree, though. Reminds me we need to get a tree. How you doing, Jose? Anyway, what's your highlight of the week? What have you been up to?
Oh man, I've been busy. I actually just got back from my TSEC in Orlando, which was pretty dope. Got to see some really advanced private training simulations and a lot of cool meetings behind the scenes. But so I kind of been focused on just traveling and VRing, man.
Sounds like it. After Rowdy's rundown last podcast telling us about that kind of milsim thing, now that's all I am going to remember, from here on in. It's just this giant warehouse with a battle scene going on. And honestly, until I get to play around in that like a sandbox, I'm not going to be sated.
Oh, dude. And it's getting only hectic because that's exactly what this year was all about, right? People are using the same, which was really cool. There's a company called Hologate, for example, that does a cool arcade stuff. And they were there using similar technology, but for de-escalation and training simulations. And that was exactly what they were talking about. They were like, we can build you, a 400,000 square foot battlefield, and it doesn't take that much space. Oh, dude, it's nuts. But so being able to see all that, that's all I've been doing this week. So just immersing myself in war. I feel like I was actually on the airplane back just quoting Solid Snake all the time. I was like, war never changes. Just it was just so cool just to play around with a lot of cool private toys.
Oh man,
wait, is that from Snake? I thought it was from Fallout.
Yes,
I was gonna say that.
They also use
yeah. Metal Gear Solid 4. Snake says it too. I don't know if it was which one came first.
Said it first?
Yeah, wow.
So Old Snake in my world said it first.
Old Snake.
MGS4, Punish Snake, however he calls himself in Metal Gear Solid 4. He's like,
Rowdy's going to have to help me with the name here, but we had that gentleman on the podcast actually, and he even did a soundbite for us, which I'll blow your mind with at some point.
David Hayter?
Yes. David Hayter, we had him on the podcast.
Oh my
god!
Yeah, it was. We have him. I wish I could run it. I think we don't have the license to run it, but for you guys privately, I can. Where he says, pay attention. You're listening to the FReality Podcast or something like that. It's
so
really
cool.
Out of my heart. So
we use the little soundbite, when he comes on the radio,
Yes. Oh, I love David Hayter.
Awesome. For us, didn't you, Rowdy? That was amazing. That's so cool. Yeah. But yeah, bit of our FReality history there. So thanks very much, and glad to have you back off the road anyway, Jose. Before you go off again, which is far away again. All right, next up. Did you know the FBI is now hiring and recruiting on TikTok? They're exploring, shall we say, gravity? That's right. Adam has completed her FBI certification program. Indeed, ladies and gentlemen, we have here a verified, certified, and couldn't be more mature female body investigator. A hearty congratulations on completing the program at Quantico, Adam.
I was worried because I was like, I've got some sketchy stuff on TikTok. So is the FBI onto me because they're looking for me? I didn't realize I was going to become part of the FBI. So wow. All right. I'm honored.
Super
Thank
spy.
you. Yeah, exactly. You got to blend in with the people that you're trying to catch, I guess. I don't know.
Exactly.
But it's been a fun week. Now that it's after Thanksgiving, I've finally been given permission that it's okay to decorate for Christmas. I mean, you can kind of see some in the background, but this is going to sound super nerdy. I'm going with a different Christmas tree theme this year, and it's actually going to be a Fallout themed Christmas tree. I even have some here. I've got a couple of my Fallout ornaments, and I've got a.
Right. I thought that you picked up like some kind of like dead Christmas tree and like you just like put it in the corner, like no leaves.
That's what my husband said. He said we should get a dead tree, and
acid.
I'm like, it's got to still be Christmassy. Like, I mean, I can appreciate sticking to the theme, but we've got to take some creative liberties to keep it with the spirit. But yeah, so I've pretty much just been decorating. We'll get into it later, but I've been doing. I played Half Life Levitation mod. Wow. And then what worries me is where you were kind of leading into this is I've been dabbling in seeing what the heck it is with all of those weird VR girlfriend simulators, which is what I've been putting on TikTok. So that's why I was like, he's on to me.
Yep, I'm on you. I've seen him.
So that's been interesting.
I have a lot of experience in those as well. Yeah.
Heck yeah. Let's go.
For science. For science.
Yes, for science.
It's
He's a
important for
science
science. I appreciated a tweet you put out where you said, if it's a dude, like, this would be really creepy. But because, I'm a lady, I can get away with murder in this. And you really do get away with murder. But yeah, TikTok's loving your stuff.
Yeah, like, I try not to be sexist about it, but it's kind of true almost in that you can sort of go through a more pure view of someone who's, like, not really looking into this in the way that the developers probably intended. Just like a totally WTF going in and exploring and seeing like what is it that supposedly this person or these people who made this game think people want. And it's really it's interesting, it's fascinating, a little disturbing, but interesting. We'll just leave it at that. It's interesting to see, and it's always a good time.
Well, for some interesting shorts and skirts, go ahead and check out Adam's TikTok. So, certainly learned a few things this week myself.
Wow. Okay.
So that was that. All right. Very good. Very good. And like a sacrificial canary carried into the coal mine, every team needs a creature to take one for the team. And most games FReality has played together, this guy's drawn the short stick. Maybe the new team will change this man's luck. Who's to say? How are you today, Rowdy?
I'm doing all right. I just want to make the comparison doesn't really hold up if the team actually murders the canary. Like that's not how this works. Like normally the canary gets like destroyed by whatever it is that is out there, but no, I get sacrificed by the team the entire time. Anyway,
that just questions the team.
Listen closely,
before you even go in.
Every time that we've played Demio, for some reason, I've been sacrificed.
Every time. Multiple times.
Multiple times. In the same game. No, I've been all right. Haven't been playing a lot of VR this week. It's been the World Cup, and of course, as a Belgian and Canadian, I had to support my team. All in vain, of course, because we got thrown out in the group phase already. So the entire country is in mourning, and I'm mourning here in Canada.
My condolences.
Thank you. Why are you laughing? Why are you laughing? No, you can't say my condolences. Start laughing. Exactly. Anyway,
I did not expect to laugh this heartily at the start. Yeah. Poor Rowdy, and my commiserations for anyone else who's been knocked out of the league. Yeah. I too, like Adam, I don't give a damn about football or soccer. I just don't follow it. But if you are like Rowdy, I wish you the best of luck. Yeah.
Thank you.
When does that all wrap up then, Rowdy? I had no idea.
I think it's knockout phases now, so I think that the finals will be next weekend probably, somewhere like that. I think that it's going to be all ending But I've lost interest now as well. Now Belgium's out. I couldn't give it.
Oh, man.
Whatever happens, happens.
Yeah,
That's
whatever
exactly
happens,
how it
happens.
goes. But wait, why is this? I thought this always happens in like summertime. Why is it happening in December?
I think like it's like because COVID all like messed up the schedule, and then now it's in Qatar now. So like for them, it's kind of warm now, I guess. So
well, it's always warm in Qatar. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I don't know the exact reasoning. That there is a reason why they did it like that, but I think it has to do with the mix of like it being in Qatar and it being COVID. That it's like kind of like all merged together now.
They bumped it around. All right, very good. Well, we gotta check out what chat's been up to. So I don't know what we've got from them, but I'm curious what they've been getting up to.
We've got some, by getting things done, we've got ForeVR Pool and Cubism. Gosh, they've been pumping out a lot of games lately. Like, it's fantastic. And just, like, high-quality multiplayer, like, just simple games. And I can appreciate that. That's so nice.
ForeVR.
ForeVR, or ForeVR.
Yeah.
Is it Fore or is it Forever VR?
It's supposed to be read forever, I think. So I don't know if we just say forever or Forever VR or ForeVR, but one of those has got to be right.
I hate those names. I think they're so lame. Like, using
good games, confusing names.
Yes, there we go. That's a great subtitle for them. Yeah, great games, confusing names. Well pegged.
We've also got Darchangel. I hope I pronounced that right. Darchangel 3. Yes, has been in VRChat with RC Cars. It's my bad. I'm bad at names.
Ooh, RC Cars. That's a good one.
RC Cars, Dance Party After Party, and Family Feud. I've been wanting to try that in VRChat, actually. That sounds like hilarious. I don't know how it works, but
Family Feud, that's a game that exists.
World.
Is that a board game, or is that
only in the States?
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's a well-known syndicated TV show. It's like Jeopardy, and so they have two families competing and doing trivia games.
You have to basically guess like what the survey says. So it's like things you'd have in your bathroom, and then people have to guess like toilet paper, and then there's like a score associated with each specific item, or the item's not on there at all. So that's how the scoring works.
Right.
You have to guess.
I've definitely seen a derivative of that. Then that sounds.
That's
fun.
amazing, and it's happening, and it's on VRChat.
Yeah, I didn't know.
There's a VRChat world. Yeah, I've seen it, but haven't played it. It sounds super fun.
So is it like fully automated, or can like somebody pick up? Like, I want to be the host. I want to be the guy who asks the questions and looks at the surveys. Like, the survey says.
Could. I mean, you could. I'm sure it's like automated, but you could probably read it and just no one's stopping you from being a host.
Oh man, if somebody wants to do an online virtual show,
Jose the host.
Jose, we can definitely do that. I don't know if the feature's still there. They used to call it Quizzy something or other in alt space. And I used to host along with Cymatic Bruce. We would do this on-stage thing.
That's so cool.
I think it was once every 2 weeks or once a month, and it was about like VR trivia, VR game trivia and stuff like that. So the capability is in alt space anyway. So I don't know, but if you're looking for it, I don't know if alt space is still alive. Has anyone been in alt space in the last 2 years?
I think I just decided I want to be the Steve Harvey of the VR industry. Yes, I'm gonna be just wear a suit and just do like TV shows all the time. What's the guy who does all the TV, the gaming awards? Jeff Keighley.
Oh, Jeff Keighley.
No, Jeff Keighley. Yeah. I'm gonna be the Jeff Keighley of VR, just hosting a bunch of VR trivia shows.
Yes.
You got the grin and the tech knowledge for it. I want to see you in that spot with a tuxedo and everything. It'd be good fun.
Oh, that's funny.
All right, very good. Anything else in chat there before we move on to my highlight?
Resident Evil. Oh, the Prey Dog mods, which I think I only tried one of them, but those were pretty good. I did like them. Did you ever try them?
Not yet. No. I mean, I'm mostly a vanilla guy, and it's like when we get past like a year or two after the game's release, either the game comes out and I play through it and I'm like, and then I'll jump into the mod thing. I don't know. Skyrim got me into modding, and now it's broken my back. So I've modded Subnautica and a few other games, GTA 5, that type of thing. But I'm still learning my way when it comes to mods.
I just imagine Zim going into a coffee shop and still going like, I'm more of like a vanilla guy. Like
vanilla guy.
Right. I will say, at least with the flat screen of VR mods, my experience is it's been pretty easy to implement them. Like if you're not counting Vorpix or whatever, like they make it pretty simple because you're not adding a bunch of little add-ons. It's just one mod, right? So it's not too bad. Don't be scared. It'll be fine.
Like Deep Rock Galactic. It's more a time thing than anything else. But like Deep Rock Galactic's mod is cool, and I'm waiting for that to develop a bit further. But great. Chat, you sound like you've been having some fun. So that's great. I certainly was having fun too over the holiday. We had what I'm now calling second Thanksgiving because little did I know before moving here, Thanksgiving, they have an earlier Thanksgiving in Canada, and then we have the American second Thanksgiving. So I was able to drive my family down south to New Hampshire, where my mother-in-law stays, and got to meet my sister-in-law as well, and kind of spend some time with them. And the highlight, of course, was the people. But the second highest thing on the list, being a techie, was getting to play with a bunch of toys because my mother-in-law is a big nerd, just like my wife, and had a Steam Deck, a Switch OLED, and I experimented while I was on the road or far away from home. I was about 1,000 kilometers away, so more than 500 miles, and played around with PS5 remote play. And I was like, this is so cool. I didn't know this was the thing. I know this was there with PS4, but I just have to echo it because it was so cool on a trip. I know you travel a lot, Jose, but to have a PS5 sitting at home, cabled to the network, and then be able to be in someone else's house, 1,000 kilometers away, and just open my laptop, cable the DualShock controller, or what's it called now? DualSense controller, and just finish Astrobot playing that way. And it was like, that was just it blew my mind. I had a Steam Deck here, right? And it was really good. And I'll talk about that in a second. Switch OLED as well, playing around with that. Downloaded my whole library of multiplayer games. That was cool. I didn't know I could do that. So it was this whole, getting to play with toys.
So how does that, does your PlayStation need to be on then at home or on standby or something like that?
It's on standby. And when you have the client app that goes on your desktop, it will reach out and it'll knock and wake your PlayStation up in less than a minute. And then it connects, and you have a couple of different streaming options. So you can stream as high as 720p, which, to be honest, on a 13-inch laptop, which I had with me, looks 1080p. And you can run it at 60 or 30 FPS. So if it's not quite managing it, the bandwidth isn't quite enough, it'll stutter. You'll get little audio gaps. But man, it was so nice. And I know it's 3 years old now, but Astro's Playroom, getting to play with all the toys, and they have the entire electronic collection, all the PlayStation systems, all their variable derivatives, the iToy, the PSVR. Sometimes they're interactive as well. And it's getting to collect all those pieces and then see them in one collected room when you beat the game was fantastic. It was really, really great. And so I just thought I'd just say, look, if you didn't know that your PS5, if you've got one, can do this, next time you're on holiday, just bring a controller and a cable, and you can even plug into someone else's PC or whatever. It doesn't make a little network or anything. It's so handy. It's so cool.
A friend of mine did that because we were on vacation when God of War Ragnarok came out, and he didn't want to miss it, so he just did remote from our to our Airbnb, and it was oh, okay. I didn't want to look because I didn't want to see spoilers, but I was oh man, that's super cool.
Yeah, that's the thing. I just couldn't believe it. It was it was really, really neat. And then I'll keep my comments on the other two just really brief, but Steam Deck feels great in hand. I was surprised at how well it felt because I didn't like the Steam controller and stuff like that, but those analog sticks, the screen, the way you load your library up, I was just able to log into my own Steam account and just have my whole library, install a bunch of stuff, and still swap between my and my mother-in-law's accounts, and that was just super slick. How well designed it feels surprised me. I thought it would feel a little bit more indie or a little bit more Kickstarter than it does. It really feels like a finished product, and hats off to Valve for that. And then finally the Switch OLED, which I was ogling for a long time. It's a minor upgrade to the original Switch, and certainly I wouldn't be buying it if you have an existing Switch. But so got to play with all the toys. Very happy with that. And I'll get in a little bit more to the VR games that I've been playing over the last 2 weeks in the main topics, because we're going to talk about those a bit later on. So, all right, so onwards towards the first fruity bit of the mince pie. But first, a warm welcome back to Resolution Games as a sponsor for FReality Podcast. You might see the little branding in the top right. So welcome back, Resolution. I think this is their third run with us. They've got some grand news to share with us, and I'm going to read out a little bit of a press bulletin. So first off, if you don't know Resolution Games, or if you're new to VR, they are known for Demeo, Blast On, Ultimex, Akron Attack of the Squirrels, a personal favorite of mine, actually. Cookout, A Sandwich Tale, and Bait, the old fishing game that I think, was it Rowdy, your dad couldn't put down?
Oh yeah, that game. Like even if I go back to Belgium, that will be the game that he'll be asking me to play again. Yeah, for sure.
Aww.
That was such a good fishing title. But in the VR world, I would say Resolution Games are the star-studded general of games companies. They got such a great back catalog. So Resolution Games have announced it'll be hosting the first ever Resolution Games showcase via both YouTube Live and Facebook. It's going to be hosted by founder and CEO Tommy Palm and joined by additional members of the Resolution Games team. The showcase promises one of the largest gatherings of major game announcements, updates, and timely surprises for VR and MR game enthusiasts. Read out a little quote here. With the holidays right around the corner, we are poised to see many more gamers unwrap a headset and immerse themselves into VR for the very first time. Our showcase, which will be the single largest news day the studio has ever had, will provide a warm welcome to new VR players taking their first steps alongside the millions of players who already enjoy our games. While no specific announcements are expected to be confirmed in advance of the showcase, the company has already revealed that Reign of Madness, the fifth adventure in the company's award-winning fantasy tabletop Demio, huge fan favorite here, will launch as a free update for players on December 15th.
Yes.
That's coming for both Quest and Steam, and there's a Pico release slated for early 2023. Set in the town of Enns, Reign of Madness will introduce grappling hook-wielding Barbarian as Demio's latest playable class. I'm surprised at the speed they keep adding these classes. I was so happy about it.
Yeah, and they're free.
And they're free, right? I love this model. I think it works very well. It compounds value for the players, yada, yada, right? But Reign of Madness won't be the only present under the showcase tree. And this comment cites me the most. We'll have a whole new game you can get your hands on December 15th. That will be unlike anything we've released before. If you want to be among the first to play, be sure to tune in. So that's Thursday, December 15th. That's 9 a.m. Pacific for Adam. 12 noon Eastern for me and Rowdy and Jose. 5 p.m. in the UK for old Mike, and 6 p.m. Central Eastern for Nathy.
Wow.
Go and sign up, turn your notifications on, and you can use the jump link in the podcast description to get there easily. But set that in your calendars. And the 15th is going to be a busy day. We've got a lot of stuff coming in today's podcast, but you're going to find a lot of people have targeted the 15th for their stuff. Resolution. I don't know what they're up to, but I'm really excited for this one. And yeah, I don't know, guys. What do you? I'm curious now because we don't know what it is. Can you guess? What do you think they're coming with? Because they've done sandwich games, they've done squirrel games, they've done tabletop flat games. What is Resolution gonna surprise us with?
I mean,
are we
just
sure
based
that
off
it's going
of
to
Twitter.
be? Are we sure it's going to be like a new game, or is it going to be maybe something
New game.
expanded? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay, that's true because we have seen some mixed reality stuff like Demio in mixed reality, but they're working. If I know a bunch of content creators got to go to their offices and experiment with the stuff, so they're gonna have some sort of a mixed reality game or something involved, right?
So spatial ops is, I think, what they're working on at the minute. But that's been teased publicly for the last month and a half or two. I would be surprised. I say teased because they said very blatantly that it was like early days, right? I wouldn't expect to see that as a release. If that's the release, then that's cool because it'd be right in time for the holidays and getting friends together. I don't think
release,
stuff,
but maybe like hey, we have a date now. You know what I mean?
Maybe.
Like,
but this
or like final trailer
says, we'll have a whole new game you can get your hands on December 15th.
Okay. Zombies.
It will be unlike anything else.
Okay, I'm gonna contemplate here. So their most successful game by far has been, I think, Demio, right?
Yeah. Yep. That's what I was gonna go with.
That is a thing that they've pretty much nailed down. They know there's a market for this. They know that people love this stuff. They do this extremely well. So I'm saying Age of Empires is coming to VR. It's gonna be a strategy game, you know. So I'm
honestly,
I'm saying,
I think
I'm
I
saying
can
strategy
go for an
game.
Age of Empires. Yeah,
I'm thinking it's gonna be a strategy
Wow.
kind of game. very much in the likes of like, you know, like the tabletop kind of thing what they did with Demio. But then, like how's it that Oculus title that they released a while ago? Brass Tactics, like that, but then done by Resolution Games, which I think will be amazing. Something like that, I would love that.
Yeah,
and there's a market for that. There's not a lot of strategy games on the VR market space.
There's not many.
Oh.
Yeah, I would love to see them use the same formula for like a different setting. Like if they go after, they already done the fantasy stuff really, really well. Yeah. What if they went for like tactical shooters? Like I've been thinking about XCOM a lot lately.
Ooh,
so same. I would love to see something like that. If they,
something like any kind of like, I think a strategy kind of thing. Because they know how to do that with Demio. They know the tabletop thing, the third person kind of view. Like anything like XCOM.
I love that
strategy.
Formula.
Any of that kind of stuff would work really well, I think. Yeah. Watch them come out with a wave shooter now, like, just I swear to God, like, we're like hyping everyone up.
We're launching Transformers, right? We took the project over, and I don't know. I can't even guess. I'm crippled by the fact that they've done so many titles such great justice.
Yes.
I
don't know where it's coming from. I have no idea.
Polish. I think that's the thing about Demio that stands out for me. It's the polish in those games, right? There's been a lot of people that have experimented with that genre, but they do it very well.
Very well.
All I know is
how to handle motion sickness, because if you think about all of the games they've made, they're still very well done, but you're not really having that like full forward, joystick motion, and they do it so well. Because I have a couple friends that do get motion sick, but they don't have to take any kind of drugs or anything before they play, which is really nice. And they appreciate that. I appreciate that. We don't have to wait half an hour, so it's fantastic. They could just jump in and play and not have to worry about getting nauseous for, any of the titles, really.
Should put that on the box, eh? Don't even have to pop the pills. All right, well, thank you for your guesses. We'll see if anyone nails it. I'm kind of hoping that maybe Rowdy does now, but we'll see where it goes. Yeah. I am personally very excited for spatial ops, and there's I don't know. Even the new Demio stuff, I just like it's going to be like topside. It's not down in the dungeon; it's in a town now, and all that stuff looks just fantastic. So, with that, let's move on to the news and hear the latest reports from the Field of Dreams. So first up, we've got a flight attendant sim in VR. It's not all just serving GNTs on redliners headed for New York. What if the plane's having engine trouble and you've got a plane full of passengers relying on you for calm and collected guidance? Well, look no further, my friends. Airline Flight Attendant Simulator VR is a consumer version of the professional VR training software developed by AVR, and it's used by airlines and flight schools to train their future cabin crew members. This is the thing that makes me most excited about it, is it's coming from the professional to consumers. So, your role as a flight attendant, and your mission is to save the passengers, flight crew, and yourself. You will learn how to prepare the safety equipment before the flight and respond to extreme conditions when every second matters. Various missions include rapid and slow aircraft depressurization, smoke and fire in different parts of the airplane, emergency landing, and ditching, which is emergency landing on the sea. I'm just thinking now about, those location-based experiences and thinking, what if you were in a virtual cabin with smoke and heat and all that stuff? It could get pretty exciting. So this is really, really turning on my head towards this. But the immersion is guaranteed thanks to realistic virtual aircraft and safety equipment, gravity effects, sounds, and these intense scenarios. And of all of this, my favorite thing is the top 3 comments on Reddit. Having seen the video, it's quite extreme. First one is, needs more snakes.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Does it have snakes?
The second comment, this will definitely cure my fear of flying. And the third one, my favorite of the bunch, do I get to duct tape drunk assholes to their seat?
Yes. Can we talk back to them? Is there some kind of like voice communication with the NPCs where you can tell them to like sit their asses down, etc.?
I feel like this
boiling hot coffee on their lap. Like stuff like that.
This could totally be like a modern desert bus is my thought. You know the game Desert Bus where you sit in a bus.
Oh yeah.
They had a multiplayer version of that was VR, and the bus driver's got to keep it on the road for 8 hours. Yeah, I could see a pivot from this. But one of the cool things, and the second link I shared with you, Rowdy, is they've been doing this kind of simulation work in the professional space for some time, and they actually do all the ground crew stuff, like the ground maintenance work for plane crews. The engineers who are actually dealing with the plane after it's landed between passenger loadups. So the detail that they've got, it's almost like Microsoft Flight Simulator level in terms of what they've got in the plane, its assets, all the moving mechanisms. I really am interested to try this one out. I don't know. Do these kinds of simulations bore you, or they interest you? I'm curious, crew. How do you respond to something like that?
Well, this one I find more boring because I have like no interest in like flight attendant kind of thing. Like, but like if it's anything like I don't know, like maybe it's something like the car mechanic stuff. I think that is really cool. I love that kind of stuff. Or like the like the more technical kind of things that like of stuff that you normally don't really do. I think that is more like my kind of thing. Even like the stuff that they're showing of the airplane, just to know like how it all works. I think that is pretty cool. Flight simulators are pretty nice. Driving simulators. I think those kind of things are probably more like
neat to learn while you play. There is certainly something to that. When I was playing Wrench or Car Mechanic Simulator VR, like when you learn, like if you haven't done an oil change and you learn about that, and then you actually open up and get to understand how the thing pieces itself together, and you don't have to do it with your own car with the fear of breaking something that's going to cost you $2,000.
Yeah. Or like I said last time, like those military simulators or like those surgery simulators, like those kind of things that you don't really like practice in real life. Like just to get an idea of an understanding, or like even as like I can imagine as a student, you don't know what you want to go and do. You're 18, you're about to go to uni or like whatever. Like doing something like that can maybe like say like it might be nice to figure out how it is actually on the field of like doing this kind of job. And have a feel for it if this is actually something that you like to do. Because like imagine you study for like 6 years as a doctor and then you realize you can't stand blood, like it's not really the best. I mean, you'll probably figure it out before that, but still it's it's maybe a nice way for people to like figure out maybe, is this something for me? Is this something I find interesting? Because the studies don't always reflect, the actual practical thing of doing the job.
That's a good point. Yeah. And how do you get a taster for this before you go and sign up? That'd be easy,
and there's actually companies too that are being built that specifically tap into these environments and actually build a role play world just to build up immersion. That's actually something I saw at the at ITSEC last week, where I think Lockheed Martin was working. I don't remember the name of the company, but they were working with a network solutions company that actually worked on top of Microsoft Flight Simulator, and they were bringing in retired airplane pilots and conductors just to build up a real sense of virtual events. And pretty much they're going to be setting up active combat zones and traffic areas and so they're pretty much role playing these, and they're being paid salaries to pretty much build these worlds, which is pretty rad.
Like those kind of things always raise the question of like, does everybody need to know that kind of stuff, right? There's certain groups that would probably pay a lot of money but have like other intentions with doing this kind of stuff.
That's the problem, right?
The same with like these airplane kind of things. Like, do you want everyone to figure out exactly how all of that stuff works? That's maybe it's always a bit of a difficult question, I think.
I agree.
Actually, they actually do have. It's funny you said that, because these are the questions I also think about, right? And I was actually talking to an engineer who worked on this network interface for Microsoft Flight Simulator, and they were talking about historical events, and they role play these events. So they're going to have a specific dates, and there's going to have security clearances based on the dates that people can role play based on that, exactly what you said. You don't want people to accidentally learn additional information on how they cause damage. And I had to ask him, I was like, hey, look, there has been historical events involving planes. What happens if somebody wants to set up a date for that time frame? They said, we actually banned them. They actually put you on the list. They actually remove you from the ability to access these networks, these servers. They're very intense when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Because I mean, not to say anything, but like I'm still gonna say it. Like if you think about like that flight that disappeared, was it MH17 or something like that?
MH17, yeah.
Yeah, like that flight disappeared. They found out that the pilot actually had a flight simulator back at home, and he was practicing a particular route, and that was the route that actually disappeared on. So like those kind of things, like I think it's always a little bit, it's difficult to say no, and it's difficult, I think, you have arguments for both sides. You want people to be trained, but you don't want people to use that training for malintentions, right?
Yeah. Mm. That's exactly it's a tightrope, right? That's the difference between, a company deciding, hey, we're going to give our tools for a professional environment to consumers. So that it's a weird tightrope, and that's exactly what's happening with the immersive space, because all these simulations have been around for a very, very long time, but now a lot of these hardware is becoming accessible. So they're like, hey, this is a new revenue stream, but should it be a revenue stream is the question.
Yeah. And the thing is, when you do that conversion, and maybe to answer a little bit of Rowdy, your kind of initial points there, when you take a game, when you take a simulator and then you turn it to the consumer market and you say, here you go. I think you have to make a decision, right? Are you going to gamify it? Do you make it some kind of reward-based system? Is there actually a spine to it, something that you're trying to succeed or learn? What's its purpose, right? Now that you're turning it to that audience. That's not really clear to me here. Like, how does this game evolve?
Is it going more towards people who do want to become flight attendants, or people who want to play a game? Because you're going to treat it differently. Like, from my perspective, I'm like, okay, maybe being a flight attendant would be fun, but I probably want to do the things that you're not allowed to really do as a flight attendant. I don't want to do from a game perspective. I don't want to do all the technical aspects of it. I mean, being completely honest, even when the flight attendants are doing their announcements, I'm spacing out anyway, so I can't imagine, wanting to play that. But I don't know. But it might be a personal choice from me too. I do prefer to just kind of mess around in games versus have something that's super realistic. Like, I'm happy just being in drunken bar fight and
just a quick
punching people on an airplane.
Just a quick correction. It wasn't MH17, because MH17 is the flight that got shot down. It was MH370. That was the flight that disappeared over the Indian Ocean.
And adding real quick to the end of that is, that's really the biggest weird thin-veiled lie that people realize, is that most of these military or private training programs and software, there's a big financial and also inspiring investment that they're trying to do, right? Like Call of Duty, for example, they have active engagements with the military and a lot of forces around the world, because they want to potentially inspire people that are like, oh, I love this stuff, and get them into enroll. So that's similar to what's going to happen with immersive simulators, right? Like these Pavlovs and all these really advanced simulators. Eventually, their Arma it's a really good one. DayZ, these are engines that are built for military, and eventually we're going to start seeing them kind of move over to the Quest 2 and all these other accessible headsets.
Yeah, we were talking about this a couple of years ago, but I'll just bring it up again just briefly. America's Army was an infamous title that was actually sponsored by the government to help basically draft people into the military and get them interested in it. It was quite effective from what I hear, and they made, I think, 3 or 4 games, all of which were decent games. I mean, they were actually decent games, and like you said,
there was an esports league by the Navy at the IIT Sec. They had like tables, and it was like, it was like it was something. I forgot the banner. I'll find a picture and share it on Twitter, but it was something like the Navy doesn't have to be, you can also play games and esports, and it was some crazy recruiting thing. But it kind of made me inspired. I was like, oh man, I get to play like Call of Duty against like another country, like represent.
Oh,
like,
boy.
hey, if that's what war is gonna turn into esports, let's do it. You know what I mean?
Let's fast forward to that, where bodies aren't being exchanged. It's just robots attacking each other.
Yeah,
in big
let's
fields.
do it. You know, let's.
Let's do
God,
it.
that's dystopian. That's really dystopian. On that IT Sec thing that you went to, Jose, was there anything else you wanted to just introduce people to that and just let them know? Because
No,
it's another
that's
conference that I'd never heard of before. So
Yeah, so it's called the IT Sec conference. It's the imaging and security and logistics company. So they have a lot of pretty much the Super Bowl for the immersive and training and simulation space.
For gerks.
So every company you've worked, yep. Skunkworks, Lockheed Martin, Anduril, that's a really big player now. That's doing a lot of cool stuff with VR and it's just being able to see all these really advanced technologies and Haptic X, all these companies that we know from a fan perspective, but actually seeing them at work and showing what people can do. I saw a lot of advanced disassembly simulators for like tanks and a lot of more advanced things that usually you're probably not going to, I couldn't even film.
what is a disassembly simulator? What does that mean? You mean just taking the thing apart
Car
for
mechanic
maintenance purposes?
simulator. It's pretty much car mechanic simulator, but dealing with more private and more advanced components that normally you definitely don't want to see people learning how to disassemble. So it's really cool just being able to see all these advanced technologies becoming more accessible, because back in the day you had to go to like a research lab, and now they have it on the back of the truck that they're showcasing at events. And that's really what I go to these events for. I don't really dabble a lot in the private industry, but just to be able to see, oh, this is where all these, games that we normally hear of, or all these simulators, there's a few of them that deal with zombies a lot that I don't want to mention because it's private, right? They use these engines for other immersive technologies, right? So you can kind of think to the back of your head, like, oh, wow, this game does have a lot of components that miss and match objects, and you can kind of see those engines kind of being reapplied somewhere else. So it's really cool seeing the network. But yeah, it's the reason I wanted to bring up this event was just, we talk a lot about the virtual reality space and we think about just games sometimes. We talk about LBE, but there's also the private sector. There's the immersive, the immersion. There's a lot of stuff happening now with AI, which is why I wanted to bring it up too, where I saw this demo where they had a military de-escalation simulator, but every single interaction was being recorded. So they were building AIs of every single person that was playing this. So building a bunch of variable instances where the object fails or the mission gets completed, and just seeing a lot of people interacting with themselves over and over again in a virtual space. So you're kind of learning from yourself every single time. It's like, oh, I de-escalated this way. Then you replay it, and then you get to decide, are you going to be the victim this time or the de-escalator? And every single time it's yourself. So you're kind of role-playing with yourself, and it's building this very weird sense of empathy that I never ever seen in a virtual space before, because it's myself. I'm de-escalating myself, or I'm sometimes, taking myself out. It's very interesting stuff that you're seeing in the immersive.
That sounds a little bit. I don't know if you're familiar with the concept of Markov chains.
No, but please explain.
Like a Markov chain is like a sequence of like possible events, and then like what you basically do is you predict all of the outcomes. You predict all of the outcomes, and then you choose the path that will lead to the most favorable outcome. And then once you've done that, you've played that scenario out. You learn from that experience, or the computer learns from that experience, and then you play the same scenario again, and then based again like on whatever happens, you have like that chain of events that you kind of predict on, and you select again the most favorable outcome. And it's like a little bit like game theory, where they do that a lot. It's like reinforcement learning, they call that, where you have like a scenario that a computer is in, and they play that simulation like a billion times, or even more, like just they keep on repeating it, and eventually the computer itself starts finding strategies that humans haven't even thought of. Like they've done that, for example, with the game of Go. Like the was it the Japanese or the Chinese game where they've trained an AI that has come up with strategies that, like, hundreds or maybe even, I don't know how long people have been playing that game, they never even thought of like doing that, because there's so many possibilities that a human brain can't, like, evaluate all of these possibilities. But now with AI you can do that, and you can learn these kind of, or they can like, based on like the scenario that they're in, they can like predict outcomes and then choose the most likely outcome. And then based on all the events that happen after that, they can like keep on learning. So
they were calling it active variable comprehension.
Right.
And that's it was very insane stuff. It was like the guy was explaining it to me, and I understood it because I got a demo of it, but it's just applying that to just video games or anything at all. It's like, oh man, I get to become like my best teacher. It's very weird. It's super cool. But
with a Markov chain, what they do is like is that they don't consider like future actions to be dependent on like steps that lead to that. So it's like it's kind of like you have like a stochastic kind of process that leads to like where the ultimate outcome goes to. If I remember correctly.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's so rad.
The really interesting thing is I feel like we're on the cusp of AI resolving problems and doing those shortcuts, those kind of weird, bizarre solutions that humans, because of our biases, never came up with, but will start to come to the forefront of our lives in the next year or two. It just like, I feel like we're not over the hill yet, but we're still clanking up that roller coaster, just ready for the ride. And I don't know, certain things just, even like, identification, right? How many years have we been doing, passwords and two-factor authentication? When AI truly kind of washes over us, I think we're going to have a very different mechanism for authenticating ourselves into various systems. So,
God, as long as I don't have to click stop signs anymore.
How many ladders
I'm all
in this
for
picture?
For me personally, like real AI, like real artificial intelligence, like often comes from those kind of things where you take on like all of the variables that influence a certain state and then predict the next state. Like that's where I think real intelligence, real artificial intelligence will be really strong. And you see that a lot in games, where AI like makes decisions based on like, the event, the state that the game is currently in. So that's basically what a Markov chain is, I believe. So you predict on the state that is current, and then you predict the next state. And then when you're in the next state, you're gonna, again, based on all the variables in that state, you're gonna predict the next state. And that's how the chain continues. And then at the end, at the outcome, you have like that entire chain, and then it's when the model actually learns.
That's so rad.
I'm just thinking you could apply this to like,
you can apply this to anything. Like they do this
counseling or something.
But
someone
that's how
has to argue with themselves.
That's how they're trying to
like
make like artificial brains, where they for example they put like small computers together, and they need to, for example, find the most optimal kind of solution, like in terms of how they stack together. And they do that by running that simulation over and over and over and over and over again, up until they come up with like an optimal solution by themselves. Like they don't get like, the only thing that applies there are the rules of physics, for example, or the rules of like within that contained environment. And that's what makes it so interesting in game theory as well, because you have a set of rules. Like, again, let's take the example of Age of Empires, like since we talked about it earlier. You have a set of rules that determines like what you can do in the game and what you can't do. You're limited in that. But within that, there's like maybe an infinite amount of possibilities that you can do. But a sequence of actions is more likely to lead to rewards. It's more likely to lead to success, and therefore it's a more likely path to take that way. So it's a very interesting kind of way of like how we humans learn and how we're trying to make AI learn.
Huh. Yeah, it's a very interesting tangent for us to have gone on to, and I've learned a little bit about our monkey brain, so to speak, and I'm going to use that segue to move us on to something else very monkey, which is that Gorilla Tag, after what feels like a long time, is finally coming to the Quest store on December 15th. What is it? If you don't know Gorilla Tag, well, you're a sad soul. But 10 players get to play tag essentially as monkeys. Locomotion is controlled by just your arms hopping around like monkeys do. It's had several million players. Yes, million. We've had Lemming, the creator of this, on the podcast before for an interview, and now has a team of 15 people in total working on the title.
Wow.
You know, this free app with an in-game store has been doing incredibly well, and I'm glad that finally they're allowing it past the pearly gates into the, I like to think of it as a combined heaven and hell of the Meta store. So there you go. Gorilla Tag is coming our way. I'm curious because Gorilla Tag, when it first came out, and we covered it in releases ages ago, and I was super excited about it at the time. I remember it came out in, it was January, and I was like, Game of the Year. Rowdy will remember, I was really enthused about it.
Yes.
But I wonder, are either of you, have you played it? Are you interested in it? Are you monkeys?
I played it. I enjoyed it a lot. And I think this is the perfect time for that game to come out. Holiday season, those numbers are going to flip over to the official Quest store. And I hope there's like a marketing campaign behind it. That's probably why they're releasing it near the end of the year for the holiday season. I can't see Meta not saying, hey, we're going to do a holiday campaign and we're going to like have a commercial with a bunch of kids just barging into a room like gorillas. They have to. Like, it makes a lot of sense. I'm in the LBE space. I'm in the arcade space. So most of the kids that I talk to already have tried VR, and 9 of the 10 kids mentioned Gorilla Tag to me. It's Gorilla Tag. It used to be Beat Saber, right? But now it's Gorilla Tag. I don't hear Beat Saber anymore. It's Gorilla Tag, Gorilla Tag, Gorilla Tag. If you mention Beat Saber, they call you, oh, you're a chump. That's not you're not a VR gamer. You know what I mean? Like it's Gorilla Tag.
Boomer.
It's Rec Room. Yeah, no, exactly. You mentioned Beat Saber, you're a boomer instantly. So it's really all about Gorilla Tag, and I'm very excited to. That's actually, when I saw that announcement, it was actually the top of my list of things I really care about VR this year. That jumped into number one. I want to see the reaction. Remember, not a lot of kids know how to access App Lab or SideQuest or all these other tools to get these games. They're going to have it accessible in their store. This is going to be crazy. I'm very excited about it.
Oh, very good. And you, Adam, what about you?
I had tried it, and I've tried it a couple times because I've had to make videos for live-related things, but I've never really been a fan. However, I can appreciate what it's done. And even though, yes, it will be easier to get now, it kind of, the resourcefulness of kids kind of reminds me of me at a young age. Like, if you want a game and you know it's free, like, you're going to learn the crap out of everything, every way to be able to get that. And I think that's actually kind of good for kids, is to kind of go in and sort of not tinker with the software, because it's not like you're doing too much, but just actually doing research online instead of just adding in the comments, how do I do this? Like actually being able to go in and be independent and kind of learn how to do some of these things on their own. So not my kind of game, but I'm curious to see, because it's going to be free still, right, on the official store, or?
Yeah, I believe so. I didn't see any mention of a price tag, and I think they would have said that.
It's going to be free. This is going to be a paid how do you call it, cosmetics, and
they have cosmetics. I wonder if they're adding that
right
away, or if that's going to be like a later.
I would imagine
they got 15.
Directly.
They got 15 people working on it. I'm going to say sooner rather than later, and I see this being their pop one. Meta didn't allow them into the store for a while. There had to be something that they were working on, a lot of logistics and infrastructure in order for this game to remain free, because that's the value of that game. When you jump into that game, you immediately enter a lobby and there's a bunch of people running around. It really reminds me of Puerto Rico. There was in the United States, they don't have that. But in Latin American schools, they have like recess, like a very long recess time, right? Where you go to the backyard, to school, the playground, and you play for an hour. Yeah. And that's what Gorilla Tag reminds me a lot of. It's you immediately enter that playground, and you can talk to whoever and build a lobby and get into a match. That's why that game, oh man, I'm excited.
I got a question though about this comment you're making about recess, because having grown up in the U.S., I remember having recess, but like, what? Maybe they've eliminated it since. I don't know. I've not been
recess.
Back in
recess in the U.S. is kind of like inside a controlled environment for like 30, 45 minutes. It's usually like you play like in the gym.
pre-lunch. It's like you have recess, which is like a lunch, but you'll get
that's US
like, snacks instead of
in Latin American countries. In Latin American countries, they do that in the
prison time.
Latin.
You get out and you get to extra. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no. In Latin American countries, they close all the classrooms out, and you can leave if you want. That the teachers are going to find you. But
it's funny because you have to go through a metal detector there as well, right?
No, my parents made sure. Yeah.
Jeez, yeah. Times have changed since Zim's been in the U.S. Last weekend. Very good. Well, if you're not a fan of gorillas, maybe a winged leather-suited nightcrawler is more your speed. A new Batman VR game has been apparently leaked in an FTC court document that notes that Camouflage, the devs behind Iron Man VR, are working on a new Batman game for Meta. Will that be coming out on December 15th too? Unlikely not, no. But those who are new to VR might I got this way wrong. Those who aren't new to VR will remember Batman Arkham VR, which was like the first proper Batman game that we got. It first released, I think, on PC and then on PSVR at some point. That was from Rocksteady Studios, so not Camouflage, a different development team. But it was kind of a short experience with, I think, 3 or 4 different kind of experiential areas. You were in the
I wouldn't call it a game, really, right?
It was more
like experience,
more an experience, right? Good quality experience, but more towards the demo feeling. It was like, I don't know, less than an hour's worth of playtime anyway, is what I remember. And that was decent, but it's been a while since we've had, to get back into the leather suit of Batman. And Camouflage, obviously, with the prowess from their Iron Man VR, particularly the PSVR release of that, they could do this really good justice. I'm curious, is any one of you like a big Batman fan and hyped for this, given the leak?
Oh, I'm so hyped. I love me some Batman.
Interested.
I mean,
try it.
You guys play the Gotham Knights that recently released?
Gotham Knights, nope.
The recent one?
It's like, yeah, it's pretty dope. It's like multiplayer Batman, but it's a 2D game. It's not a
But Batman's
VR
not
game.
in it.
I played the Brawler.
He's definitely not in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's been some pretty decent Batman games around, but I haven't seen the latest Batman film with Sparkly Vampire Man hosting yet. But I will
It's
see that
actually
at some
decently good. It's actually
pretty good.
One of the better Batmans. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, that's a very good movie.
That guy really wanted to be disassociated with the
Twilight.
Sparkly Vampire, and he really wanted to be Bruce Wayne. You can tell.
Yeah, he's a good actor though.
He really did. He went for it.
Forget his name.
I forgot. I had it, and then
we know Sparkly Vampire guy. It's all good.
Sparkly Vampire guy.
Sorry, dude.
Robert Pattinson. That's
Robert Pattinson. Thanks. Yeah. Thank you. There you go. So that's one. That's a leak. I don't know what it is with leaks in Meta, but like they can't keep anything under grips. And maybe this wasn't their fault, but I would like some surprise again in my Meta meaty hamburger patty. I don't know, weird analogy.
I like surprises in my burgers.
Yeah,
I kind of like to know.
I don't think so either. Actually,
I
was thinking about that for a second. I say, actually,
maybe surprise burgers isn't a good idea. So let's move on to the next thing that's somewhat meta related. This is kind of a meta madness section, by the way. Got 6 or 7 little things that are all kind of centered around meta. This next one is interesting. So the first time I ever got into a browser in a Quest headset and then played a game, it was Moonrider. Moonrider at moonrider.xyz, which sounds like a dodgy URL, but go there and you'll have some fun. It's a Beat Saber clone, essentially, that operates in browser. So you load into your headset and it's got integration. So the VR kind of comes to you. Although you're in a browser in a headset, it surrounds you and you're like all of a sudden playing Beat Saber. And I remember when I first did that without installing any games or whatever, literally the thing is just streaming over the web and your headset is communicating with no discernible latency in that. I was just flabbergasted. I thought this is really amazing. So unfortunately, the developer has said on Twitter they're going to discontinue the game after 3 years of fun. Unless someone is able to sponsor their cloud costs, which apparently aren't very much. So I thought I'd just mention it. Maybe this will hit the right people out there and be able to keep Moonrider riding along. It's always been a fun rainbow road for me. And I think it's a pretty cool technology. I haven't seen many other games that do that browser interface, but I was curious, have any of you...
One.
There's a painting one like that? Do you know what it's called?
Shoot, I don't remember the name off the top of my head, but it was it Paintworks or something? But yeah, it's browser based. So you bring it up in your Oculus browser, and then you're, immersed with your canvas. It's a lot more watered down than something like Vermilion or Painting VR, but it's still really cool that it's free and you can look at it in a gallery, like in VR from the browser. So that's the only other instance I've tried like a browser based VR game.
That's a cool one. I hadn't heard of that before. Jose or Rowdy, any browser-based VR that you know?
Nothing I know of, no.
No? Okay.
I know like some virtual spaces. Like I know VR, Frame VR, I think does like their web presence virtual spaces that you can navigate in. Yeah. But I haven't really dabbled too much with it.
I mean, going way back, the thing that I really enjoyed was Janus VR, where you had like frames and you could walk into Reddit or you could walk into Google and there'd be a bunch of other VR people there. It was like the 2D web represented in VR space, and I thought that was really neat. This is kind of a few years later that Moonrider came out, but that reminded me of that. And then I suppose the next thing in MetaCamp is German-focused update. This has finally happened after the change to Meta accounts. Meta Deutschland has remarked, look forward to Beat Saber and more. Our VR glasses, MetaQuest 2, will return to Germany later this year. That's a rough translation from Google Translate, so I'm pretty sure they said VR headset or something equivalent. So Germany, again, I suppose, opening its gates to Quest 2 sales now that Facebook is no longer a prerequisite. So that's good for our German listeners. In addition to that, we've got a glimpse of a new update that's coming to the Quest. Now, these updates, I usually don't get very interested in them. They're not super interesting. I know YouTubers love them, but I usually don't give a damn. This one's got some Quest Pro features that are exclusive to Quest Pro. And so for Jose's sake, I thought I'd highlight these because they're kind of neat. The first one is, if you're like Jose, you're working all day in VR in your new fancy Rolls Royce of a headset, you now can, given the fact that it's got 50% extra RAM in the headset, you can listen to background music playback while you're doing other apps. So say you're in Word or whatever and typing away a document, you can have your favorite songs playing away. We haven't had anything like that because unfortunately the headroom in Quest and Quest 2 was so limited. You could do the one thing. You can do the one thing, user, and nothing more. So we're starting to see the benefits of additional CPU and RAM headroom in the Pro. That's the first one. And the second one, which is interesting, and I'm putting this back to back with the German update for a reason, is that you'll be able to do full mixed reality capture. So being able to see the pass-through camera and have that stitched together with your VR experience in an exportable video file. So that's very good for developers. Finally, right? Like we had it ages ago. They took it away for privacy concerns where you could see your, surroundings, and people were worried about that, I suppose. So they took that away and blanked it out. And now it's coming back. So it's kind of interesting because it worries me a little bit. Remember when HoloLens, we had issues of people walking into bathrooms with the HoloLens and recording everything as they were going in, right? And you walk up to a urinal, there's a gentleman, you look to your right, and dude's got a headset on. He looks at you, nods nicely, and now you're exposed on cameras. I don't know. Something like that. I mean, that's a far-flung thing, but I do wonder where this is going to go next now that they've opened the gates again to it. And is it going to cause any concern for people? I don't know. I've seen some other people using this headset out in the wild now that it's mobile, it's standalone, and the pass-through recordings. Let's see what we get to next. Please, no one try driving with the MetaQuest Pro. The pass-through was not that good. I
think I see some people doing stuff with headsets on already, so it's I never understood the fascination with that.
Me neither. I find
going outside and just wearing a headset.
It's
not subtle at all.
Yeah, no. It's like, I don't know. Yeah, I find it weird. It's not necessary. It doesn't add any benefit. There's no need to do it. I think there's no games that really
support that.
It's more like a little bit of show off, I think, of
it's just a click. It's a click thing, right? It's I did this thing, and
or to get views or something like that, probably.
Yeah. We've all been there. We've all been. Maybe Jose hasn't. I don't know. Jose, have you had to?
I'm about to.
Yeah,
I'm about to. I'll do
you're
something
about to.
stupid with a headset. I'll do something stupid with a headset for some clicks in a few days. I'll put like a bomb into a headset or something. Oh, damn it, that's already done. Damn it.
Next podcast.
While driving at the same time.
Oh, while driving. There we go.
Yeah.
I'll do it like all in one.
Or actually playing that game. You know, nobody has done that so far, I think.
Oh, there we go. I'll play the game and win.
Play Palmer's headset.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna play Palmer's headset and win.
So with
What is winning? Is that living?
Living.
Yeah, I guess so.
Dying.
Not dying is the win of that game. So another one, small piece of news here. Thanks, Rowdy, for tipping me off on this as well. Facebook got fined again. Meta, right, the parent company. Now, Irish regulator has stepped on them for GDPR breaches in privacy and have unfortunately fined them 265 million euro, which now means they've had penalties almost in 1 billion euro in fines, which is a gargantuan amount of money. But we knew that was coming. That was the writing on the wall when EU legislation dropped with GDPR several years ago. And there are still more proceedings that are being looked into. So this may not be the end of it. Thought I'd mention that anyway. As I said, Meta's been mucking around for some time, and there is a cleanup crew that they've got to straighten their act up against, modern regs. That is unfortunately not the worst that I've seen in the news. Here is the worst. Okay.
Oh no.
In Wisconsin, a 10-year-old boy in Milwaukee, unfortunately, intentionally aimed a gun at his mother, shot and killed her because she would not buy him a Meta VR headset. The boy's aunt and sister said he never cried nor showed remorse. This boy has had trouble in the past and had several other problems, animal abuse and things of that nature. They also said he logged into his mother's Amazon account and ordered an Oculus VR headset the morning after she died. And that same morning, he physically attacked his 7-year-old cousin. So this is a really unfortunate story. I think it's, again, I almost don't want to say it, but it's one of these kind of pieces of news that you can't ignore. It's like when that poor Russian gentleman fell through a glass table and was our first person to die in VR. This is almost something that you'd expect an AI bot to write, and it being covered in very widely in the media. It's in every news site that I could see. It's obviously bad press for Meta, or maybe someone in that company is looking at it in a different way, but. It's just traumatic. It's traumatic that this can happen anywhere in the world. It's
unfortunate. The good thing is that it was highlighted that there was a history of unfortunate mental illness. So it's very easy to, fortunately, to do an unfortunate situation, but you can detach the aspect of a virtual reality headset being involved. It could easily be done. It could have been anything. I will add to the story though, just to kind of like take it towards a slightly different routing conversation. Is I have noticed lately a very active negative perception about VR on a corporate level that has actually made me very suspicious of the intention behind it all. I actually saw this week UPS had like a very funny UPS store drop off, in the drop offs for returns for Amazon. They were like, please discard lame VR headsets here or something like that to return. And it was kind of like, man, like what? Like,
is that not a meme?
Like this is. It was a meme. It was something, but you know what I mean? Like, I don't know who it, but if it was a meme or not a meme,
but
maybe.
I mean,
but there was also
that of course comes from the association of VR with Meta. Like, if there, like, people are very negative towards Meta just in general because of the history that they have. So any product that they make, therefore, will get a negative association always. And also, Meta has been to blame part of that themselves with, like, for example, the kind of releases that they've done with the videos with, like, Mark Zuckerberg showing up the metaverse, which looks just absolutely terrible. The weird kind of ads that we've seen in order to, like, portray an image that isn't really how VR is. And of course, like, the entire thing about, like, that there's not enough content coming out. There's a lot of people that know that as well. That there is always a negative connotation with a new product or a new industry or an emerging industry, because there's still not a lot of stuff to be done around it.
Yeah, and there was also like I think it was like a car commercial recently too, that the guy was like distracted playing VR, and the lady's like, "Oh, this is better. Like, go out and drive into the real world. Don't be inside the VR headset." So there's a lot of commercials that are actively kind of pushing that anti-VR stigma, and you might be right that maybe there is like a association with Meta they hate VR because of it, but. It's
the
still
popular opinion.
Really,
it's just they're going with the popular opinion, and the popular opinion of anything that Meta does is negative.
Yeah, so, they get that bonus every time they do anything, I think. And I agree with Jose though. In the last year in particular, and it might be some whiplash or backlash from lockdown and COVID, that people are saying embrace reality, go get with people, don't do this VR thing. But I think it is mixed with the unfortunate hype bubble that I agree Meta's behind in the last 12 months, right?
Yeah.
That they built up, and unfortunately when you make a bunch of promises and it looks like hot air,
and virtual reality in general just has a very dystopian kind of feeling associated with it, and even Meta went. You remember the Christmas commercial about like that with that was it that bear thing where like everything in the real world was sad and everything was bad, so go into the virtual world, at least there you have friends.
Last year.
Yes.
Like by doing that kind of stuff, they kind of like help that kind of thing coming up.
Alienation.
Yeah. It's the separation of like
I really
you need
hate
to choose
that.
either the real world or the VR world, and of course like media is going to jump on that.
Yeah. I think it's still to prove itself in mainstream, and I think it's going to take some time. I hope PSVR 2 helps that along a little bit.
Oh man, have you guys seen the public reception of the public reception of the content creators that did get to see PSVR 2 version of Demio?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, I think Skiva from Between Realities posted about it. I don't remember if it was on Twitter or LinkedIn, but there's some receptions of PSVR 2 performance and graphics being insane. So we're starting to see that. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I did run across that.
Thank
Sorry,
goodness.
I thought you meant reactions to people who had tried it. But yeah, the actual reactions all seem net positive. And as I said before, I mean, when Mike and I have talked about his time, his hours with PSVR 2, very, very positive. Ruins modern VR 2.0. So I'm hopeful.
I can't wait.
I'm hopeful. I don't like overhyping things either. So let's just wait for it and let's see it coming. The last piece of meta information here is about your wardrobe and how you look and feel in VR. Okay, so Meta is replacing the ghost hands, which we've had for years, with your Meta avatar arms. That's right. It's time for old Stretch Armstrong to come back again into the spotlight with an avatar which you might not associate yourself with. I personally like the anonymized ghost hands. No problem with those at all. The fact that I'm going to be pasty white spaghetti arms now, it doesn't really do it for me.
They're always really thin, and it bothers me. And it's like, man, I need to work out.
It just reminds me of like I was accounting VR. You remember that game?
Oh yeah. Oh, they had really stringy arms. Those guys.
Yeah.
That's the style of their cartoons and stuff, So that's like more forgivable, I feel like.
I kind of want that, though. I want someone badgering me every
of.
time I'm in my headset, Like someone say F off and all this when I get into the headset. That'd be kind of fun. Yeah. I'd take that. Yeah, forget this avatar. Anyway, it's coming. Watch out. Just don't be surprised by it if it comes. There's a mirror and stuff so you can look at yourself. You can see where this is headed, right? Right? This is going to be, hey, look at yourself every day in your VR space so that you want to spend on our digital assets.
Yes.
That's what I see. Right? So the future is coming piece by piece. Again, don't be surprised with it. We were talking about Sony there just a second ago, so why don't we move on to their little motion trackers. Sony has unveiled kind of a surprising thing here, although it's not outside of Sony's realm of previous consumer products, they've unveiled a colorful set of 6 motion trackers called Mocopi, which are motion detection tied to a mobile device and touted for use in applications such as VRChat avatar tracking. However, this early demo did appear quite lagged, and given this product is only going to be sold in Japan, might not be all that exciting for Westerners who are listening. The trackers themselves are small, lightweight little pucks at only 8 grams each. They are placed around the body. You get these little straps to kind of put them on yourself. One on your head, each wrist is covered, your hip, and then one on each ankle for 6 in total. With motion recording, you have an ability to capture your avatar, so your digital self, in outside locations. So maybe this will be interesting to, content creators and people who are VR VTubers and stuff like that. Might be handy for Japanese creators to carry their virtual selves with them to a shooting location outdoors. So these are touted to work outside. This is launching in January next year. And so that means, Jose, I'll be in Tokyo. We go out there for a trip. I can sit across from you and pretend to be your anime girlfriend. Just
let's do it.
Put your headset
Pretend
on.
Anime
Practice your
waifu.
uwu voice.
That's it, right? Sort ourselves right out. Anyway, so those are trackers. I'm curious if anyone's had any interaction with body trackers so far. I don't know, Adam, you kind of seem the type you might dabble with this stuff. You got any trackers in your possession?
Yeah, I have the original Vive trackers. I can't. I feel like I've used them enough to justify paying the price for them because they're like $100 each or something crazy. I only have 3. I'm not the
More
crazy
than that.
9-point tracking person, but
Man.
I'll use them occasionally with Liv and then also in VRChat to kind of be that cool kid to be like, hey, look at me, I got trackers.
Yep.
But I can appreciate these because they're, first of all, they're labeled. So, because I had to put little sticky notes on mine of like, this one's left foot, right foot, waist, whatever. These are labeled. These are much smaller, so they look like they'll be comfortable. I'm a little skeptical. I mean, I'm mixed because I'm like, okay, it's Sony. They've got a good reputation, but it's like a mobile, I don't know, like it's not service. I don't know the right word.
Yeah.
Mobile integration. So I feel like maybe if it works out like virtual motion capture, which is kind of the PC version of that, it basically takes the data from that and puts it into other applications. Maybe, and I will say that we've seen the laggy kind of video, but that, to be fair, that may have been due to the broadcast
Exactly.
delay of it, possibly.
I
Third party, though. No?
It feels third party. Is that what you're saying, Rob?
Yeah, if you look at the video, like I feel very little association with Sony there.
Yeah.
That's true. It's interesting on.
Yeah, it looks like it's a Sony first product, which is what they do. Is that they do an initial market. They see how it does, and then they. So I've worked with a few companies that built a product with Sony, and it's incredibly weird bureaucracy. Essentially, the way that Sony adopts a product is that they invest in the product, they release the product, and then they see how it does, and then they decide if they're going to like expand on it. So this is probably like it's probably not even going to be release unless they have like a product release date. That's usually what they do to see interest. They do this all the time, especially it being a Japanese regional product. That's when it's a Sony.
I thought that VRChat was already working on integration with them, though. Like it was going to be a thing. I feel like they wouldn't be working on it unless
it's possible. Yeah, it must be, and it makes sense for Sony to be building out body capture that runs an analog to a cell phone then instead of a headset, because it will translate well to the PSVR 2, right? And if they can easily, especially with remote play and all that.
Let's see. I'd be really interested to see if we get that integration happening, and particularly if this extends to other markets. We'll see.
If it does well, Sony pays attention.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to put a little asterisk at the end of this as well. So Mocopi is not to be taken orally. Okay.
Or suppositorily.
or suppositorily.
Talk to your physician first before taking the Mocopi.
They do look like cute little tablets. You can probably swallow them, yeah. But it looks like it's a little
track your insides, yeah.
That's Mocopi. Well, they do that. All right, next up, we've got a new headset launching in China, which is the DPVR E4. Again, this looks to be another Quest 2 clone, kind of a reference type headset. She's a 120 hertz 4K LCD, Fresnel lenses, $549 US. So for $550, you get a Steam VR headset. They are shipping worldwide. there was a Redditor called Small Man with Ham Bun who gave a little kind of hands-on review and said that the tracking was very poor. Average optics had a cable on a link box on the cable. I hated that from PSVR 1, but it had good comfort and on par with Quest 2's clarity. So again, we've got another headset that feels to be very reference style without much more to go on about. And so I suppose there's probably not much here to get excited about, but we've talked about DPVR before. I feel it was 2 years ago, so I thought I would mention them again with their new headset coming. Okay,
it's cool that they're focusing on PCVR though. That's actually one little thing that I wanna add. Like DPVR's been around for a while, but the fact that they're saying, hey, we wanna get into the West, and this is how we're going to do it, and focusing on PCVR definitely got my interest. They're also boasting a lot about the issues to enter the PCVR market right now, because PCVR market is kind of dominated by Valve and Steam VR. So in order for you to get approved into their drivers, you kind of have to play by their games. So you have to have side software in order to translate. And that was one of the things that they actually highlighted was they directly went after the HTC Vive tool that actually runs alongside Steam VR in order for like the Pro 2 and other HTC headsets. And they were talking about how they made sure that their translation stack is actually way better and performs faster than the HTC tool. So that really, I was like, okay, they're talking to people like me that are annoyed at that software layer. So I definitely want to give them a chance and see what they're doing for sure.
Good. No, that's really interesting. And also, I remember back to when HTC Vive launched initially, and Valve was very open book and plan about some of that stack. It's interesting now to hear where we are so many years later and where it's going next, whether that will stay kind of open or shut. And then in similar news, Twitter user ErrorRaffyLine0 noted that the signage for company MegaDodo has been taken down. So this company, some of you might have backed, for example, the Gear VR headset, which is now, like the Dodo, gone extinct. And Rowdy and I were both big fans of the Decamove, their little hip-based tracker, given we were talking on the subject of trackers. I always thought that was such a fun little add-on to certain games. I was primarily using it in Skyrim. It was great for that. And some months ago, probably towards the beginning of this year, actually, beginning of 2022, it just stopped working well in that integration. The software still runs and all that, but yeah, there's been no news from the company in about a year's time, and with the sign coming down, looks like the Dodo is dead.
It's been gone apparently since the 12th of April.
The sign was the last bit.
And it's a shame because I do think that the headset that they proposed was like possible. It was just maybe that all of the tech that they proposed was of course like on the fringe, on the edge of technology. But it's kind of doable. Just not maybe by such a small team.
You need a supply chain.
Team of 10. Yeah, exactly.
Chain.
Yeah. People forget that these are very advanced cell phones. you need a supply chain in order for you to deliver these headsets and continue keeping the quality. That's the important part. Like anybody can build a headset in their garage. Like I've been seeing a lot of companies that are doing that, and a lot of people that like kind of skyrocketed and like, hey, look at this really badass, haptic glove that you can build. It's like, yeah, but you can't scale that. You can't continue keeping the quality. Exactly. Yeah,
my last interaction with them was very strange. It was December last year, just before my move, and they were trying to do like a sale campaign for 2 weeks before Christmas, and they were offering creators a cut in the revenue. And I said, guys, it looks like you're going to need it. You keep your money. But after that, never heard from them again. They just
I actually had a weird interaction in that, and that the person who contacted me, I think I had asked questions later, and she's like, "Oh, I'm not working for the company anymore," and I was like, "Oh, okay, all right."
At least she responded.
Wow.
And there was and I had it very similar, and there was no public announcement or anything. It's like they just crumbled. But anyway, that's MegaDodo.
What happens then with because they had a Kickstarter, right? What was it not a Kickstarter?
Or
Indiegogo.
One of those. Yeah, it was one of those. But I don't think that they made good on their promises. So
Well,
don't ask me what happens when a Kickstarter falls through. I generally stay away from that stuff for that reason. I don't trust them to get the product that I back. If you're backing it, I feel like those sites are great if you back something like spiritually. It's like, take my money. If you run away with my money, no worries. No hard feelings because I realize that this is like a sand dune, and if it shifts in the wrong way, it's never happening. Which is why if you're going to back a Kickstarter, like if it's got a good intro trailer, if they've got some proven track record, if the company seems stable, fair enough. But if those three things aren't lined up, you're probably throwing your money away. Anyway.
Can I be honest? I think those are the three reasons why I don't back a Kickstarter. Because if I see like a really well-known, prominent name using Kickstarter, I'm like, why are they
concerning?
Exactly. It's like,
right.
dude, like people should know you. Like when, like it always concerns me every time. I was like, what? No big AAA publisher wants to deal with you? Like, you're a legend. There must be a reason. And we have seen every single time, unfortunately, that there's validity to the reason why the publishers don't revisit some of these games that get kickstarted all the time.
Yeah, and that said,
Facts.
like I'm glad like indie creators and that have a chance, have a platform to be able to earn some money, crowdsource it.
That's what I love. Yeah, if it's an
really
indie
like
creator that I never heard of and it looks inspiring, oh dude, take my money. I never heard from you. You know what I mean? But if I heard from you and now you're on Kickstarter asking the community for money, you're not getting it.
Very good. Well, with that, speaking of community, let's move to awards. There are two big award ceremonies and one still to come up. So IGN's top VR headsets featured the best standalone headset this week in an embarrassing publication and tweet, which they've since retracted. So I won't go into details, but in short, let's just say they showed off a variant of the HTC Vive with base stations showing and claimed it was the best standalone headset. A standalone headset with base stations. Anyway, a serious facepalm there for IGN. But this kind of goes back to where I feel like, although we had focus and attention before from some of the main players, we're starting to see that wane again. And we're starting to see them not pay as much attention editorially and in the comments that they're making, to Jose's point a little bit earlier. So thought I would just mention that. The other one, which is more of a star-studded affair, which I approach sensitively, is the VR Awards. I'm going to keep this slim, so I'll just keep it to 3 categories and just mention. So VR Content Creator of the Year Award, which was awarded to Habby147. I'd seen the name around, but I'd never checked out the videos. Took some time aside to watch some videos today, and honestly, what a warm creator who's done a real wide array of content. So if you haven't checked out on YouTube, go to Habby147. VR Hardware of the Year went to the Pico Neo 3 Link. So that's good. Not too much hardware in the hardware space this year, but they decided to award that to Pico. And then VR Game of the Year, which I think Adam will be happy about, went to Moss Book 2 from Polyarc. So
that was my guess. Yep.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Warm fuzzies.
So that was your guess for the Game Awards, which haven't happened yet. But the VR Awards are done. Those are dusted, done. We saw a lot of names. Game Awards is still coming, and that's the big daddy because they're the ones who the world watches. And that's happening on November 8th. So not November 15th. I know we've said November 15th about 20 times this podcast. They're running about a week before everyone else. I wanted to remind you to tune into this one because, like my highlight at the beginning of the podcast, you can get a Steam Deck for free. If you watch Valve are giving away one a minute. The 512 gigabyte edition of the Steam Deck is going to be given away in chat. Here are the requirements. You've got to register to enter the drawing and be watching the Game Awards on Steam. So you're watching via Steam to be eligible to win. To register, you must be in the US, Canada, the UK, or in the EU. That's pretty good. It's wider than we've seen before. And have made a purchase on Steam in the last year from November 14th, 2021 until November 14th, 2022. You have to have verified your country, be in good standing, and not have a limited account. Okay? On December 8th, when the Game Awards airs, every minute a random name will be drawn from the pool of registrants currently watching the show on Steam. So if you don't have a deck yet, I can tell you from hands-on experience, it's a fucking great machine. And if you don't have to pay for it, it's even better yet. So deck the halls. Tune in at steam.tv. And the winners are going to be announced in chat as we go. That's going to make for quite the flood of
That's amazing.
Wait, do you have to be active, like typing in chat, or does it just pick from viewers, I wonder?
You have to register.
Did it say?
You're registered, and it gives you a nice little, hey, you've registered. Then if you're watching, you have a chance of getting picked. It doesn't say you have to be active in chat.
The show goes on for a long time.
Yeah, seriously.
I stayed up late in the UK watching that. You can imagine with the time shift. I was up until like 3 a.m. or something, and I was very disappointed the year I watched it. But I'm going to watch it this year. We're going to see who takes the AR VR awards. There were 5 categories we mentioned on the last podcast. And hey, if any of you win a Steam Deck, let us know. I'm going to be trying. I'm going to try for it.
That's
Why not?
awesome. Yeah, I'm going to try now too. I already
You pay
have
the
one.
shipping cost?
I was hoping you didn't mention like, oh, if you already own one, that you can't. But it does. You didn't mention that.
That stipulation doesn't seem to be there. Now read the fine print. And as I said, I'll mention again, steam.tv. I haven't watched much on Steam. I've seen their, stream broadcasts when they introduced that, where developers play their game a little bit. But I haven't watched much on there. So I'm wondering, is there going to be some interaction? Like, are you going to be able to vote or something like that?
Like Twitch
active
plays?
during. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. We're going to see. They're obviously pulling us in there for a reason. So either it's, sales on Steam or some kind of new interactive feature with the Game Awards. So looking forward to that one.
Nice.
That's
Okay.
awesome.
There you go. And then finally, to round up the newsreel, we're going to talk a little bit about VRChat. So VRChat has launched a big update, which is groups this week. And this sounds really neat. It's going to appear as subtext in a subtext tag below your username when you're in VRChat. So it might say Jose or Adam, and underneath that, Gerk, right? Gerk showing as your selected group. Group search and user administration is coming. And do note, if you want to make a group, you're going to have to be a VRChat Plus member. So that's their subscription service for, I don't remember, it was about $10 a month. But it's just, it's something that's going to allow people to more organically find and meet up with groups that on a regular basis they want to connect with. So for example, my wife does loads of VRChat. She finds it as a nice way, especially we got busy kids, can't really go out on the town so much, right? Connect with a group of people. But one of the problems she had was, I don't know when other people are online. You can friend them, but there's no real easy way. With this, for the group, you'll have a group listing showing, okay, oh, Jose and Adam are online. There's 3 people online. There's 30 people online, and it kind of attracts you into those group functions. And then you can also join on them if they're doing something. So I think this is going to really help as some glue that's much needed, and maybe even transform VRChat even further than it is today. So thought I'd mention that. And I just want to thank Maria from Rain Dance for letting me know that was coming. That's quite cool. If you're a bit like Rowdy and me, and don't care much for people. Sorry, no, just Rowdy. Just Rowdy is the one who doesn't care for people.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Look at
And
that
maybe
face.
instead you'd prefer to, gun people down, blow them up, chop them into little pieces and save for later. Although that's sounding more like an Adam thing.
Yeah, that's more Adam. Yeah. Chainsaws.
Whatever your flame desires, well, we've got the Hanukkah gift for you. So first in the main topics, let's talk about Breachers. Breachers. And I've kind of spent a good
It's with
few
a
hours
B,
in this.
right?
I was playing this.
Not with a P.
Well,
Preachers with a P?
Not
Preachers?
Not preachers.
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 That sounds like a game that's more for.
Game.
Yeah,
no,
that's
that's
more for
simulator?
me, you know.
Do you know Preacher the comic? Because it's a bloody mess. Do you know the
Okay.
Preacher?
They
Yeah,
got they had a live action adaptation for a while. I don't know if it's still going.
Oh yeah, they did on Amazon or somewhere.
And the guy, the channel that had The Walking Dead. I don't remember which one.
AMC.
AMC. Yeah. They had a live action for a while.
All right, there you go. Go watch Breachers and then maybe play some Breachers. So, what is Breachers? Well, a lot of people, although I'm not a Rainbow Six guy, except for the original Rainbow Six, where everyone walked around like fat ducks, Rainbow Six Siege is a very popular game, which is, again, squad-based. It's 5v5, and Breachers will certainly scratch that itch. Like it says, what kind of weapons do you have and type of game in this 5v5 squad game? You've got things like drones, so a pilotable drone that you can hover in through windows and doors and stuff like that to spot what the enemy team is up to. door blockers, which a lot of you have seen in these squad-based games, incendiary grenades for fans of, like the Molotov effect, burning the floor and doing damage over time. Their smoke grenade is the saddest thing I think I've seen in a game yet, which is just literally looks like a Unity gray sphere. It's just like a hard sphere that you can sit inside with like almost no visibility out of it. I'm sure they'll develop that further. This is an alpha, by the way, so I'm not going to be too hard on it. But let's not forget the namesake, the breaching foam. Breaching foam is amazing. I don't think I've had so much fun with a weapon in a game for a long time. You can draw a little smiley face with it, and then you hit the back of the plunger, and it blows open one of the hallmarks in the level. Each of the spaces that you can blow open the walls are predetermined, so this isn't yet my hope for VR, which is Battlefield Bad Company 2, where you can drive a tank through a wall or whatever, detonate as you're running. We got to have that coming. But Breachers is certainly the nearest thing that I've seen so far, where you get your team ready, you spray some foam on. Looks like some shaving foam, honestly, as you're spraying it on the thing. When that runs out, you hit the back of the plunger, things blows up, and you run through and run and gun. So fantastic.
The most manly way to shave. Yeah.
Shave with
blow it
breaching
off your
foam.
face.
Jesus Christ. Just don't go near any open flames.
I can tell Palmer has gotten into all of your minds. Jesus.
Yeah.
Put bombs on everything.
So for those wondering, because this is always a question with alphas and stuff like that, how do I play it? Okay, where is it accessible? It's not in the Meta Store. It's not in App Lab. It's not even in SideQuest. It's in GitHub. Okay, it's not even on itch. It's like the lowest of the tree, so you got to do the most work. So what do you need to be able to play this? You are going to have to get SideQuest working in order to side load the files that you need from GitHub onto your Quest. That was easiest done, I would say, on PC. In order to get into SideQuest, if you don't have that yet, you're going to need to sign up for the Meta Developer Program. And actually, one of the prerequisites now, this is a new one since last year, you have to, register a card in your name or something like that. So I had to register a, credit card, and they store it on file. Now that sounds like a pain in the ass, but it also has a benefit I'll talk to you about in a minute, because how many kids have a credit card that they can sign up to for a SideQuest developer account?
Oh.
Not many. So what that means is I was playing mostly with adults. I think there was one kid out of maybe 50, 60 people I played with.
One rich kid.
One
Rich and spoiled kid.
One kid from a rich family who borrowed daddy or mommy's headset, I suppose. But it was a really good time. And I would say the bots that are in there are kind of smart enough not to be dumb bots and not tough enough to be competitive with humans in such a way that if there's 3 bots left and you're the last one on the human team, you'll probably take them out. It's a bit that way, but you might not if you're new. So that's the difficulty level, but 5v5 works pretty well. I'd say 75% of the time I had a pretty full team in between rounds, much like Contractors. It breaks to, I don't know why we chose this, a basketball court. And people usually bemoan there's like a big button in the middle. So you either slap the button or you play basketball. And normally what happens is match closes, finishes up. Everyone runs for the button. Someone says, don't press the button. And someone presses the button. You go into the next match. You almost never see basketball. But it was it's actually really, really fun. Very strategic. And what you can do also is rappelling down the walls. You have a little grappling hook and it works very smoothly. You run up to a wall, you point up, you hold the trigger, and you shoot your grappling hook up. And I'll tell you, scaling a wall like that vertical string upwards with a team of 5 people feels fucking badass. It feels so cool. And then you go and you breach through a wall or whatever. And the way that they've handled when you're dead is also pretty good. So you can spectate view. You can hover around as a head. You don't clip through the level. And I found that a little annoying as a spectator, because if you're on level 2 and the action's on level 1, you have to find your way to a corridor to kind of like walk your way up the stairs. You can't just go through the level. Yeah. And the good thing that they implemented is you're not able to cam spy on the opposing team. So unless your teammate sees and has line of sight on an enemy, they don't appear on your screen as you're dead. And you can still talk to your teammates while you're dead. So if you die, you can say, oh, he killed me in the kitchen, right? So you can say that even after you've been killed, which is an interesting strategic play. But the fact that they blind you on the cameras makes it a little bit more balanced. But I'd say, is it worth the effort of going in? Yeah, absolutely. This is from the devs who made Hyperdash, which was a super slick on rails, almost TF2 style shooter, which was like a push-pull. This game is great. This game is absolutely fantastic. I've seen a lot of people raving about it. do the work. I would love to get us in as a team if this interests you. And we'll put together a Breachers session and get the team working together, bonding and breaking in. And you play on two very distinct teams, actually. Attacking have different weapons, tools, and stuff than defenders. The defenders have a bunch of other tools that I didn't mention. I won't spoil it all for you. I want to incentivize our audience and each of you in the crew to go on, take the plunge, and get those 2 files onto your quest. So there you go. There's your homework for next week. Have any of you actually done it yet? Have any of you gotten into Breachers? I don't think so.
No, but I heard a lot about it. A lot of people have been positive reception about it. So I love Hyperdash. So I'm definitely very interested in trying it out.
Install it before you go on the road again, Jose, and we'll.
Yeah. I'll take it with me.
Let's take it with you. We'll get in together. I'll definitely plan a session for us then. Sounds good.
Dope.
So that's Breachers. If you haven't checked that out yet, go ahead and find your way, plot on over to the GitHub. I don't think I have it in the description yet, but we could add that in after the podcast today, so you have a click, or find their Discord. That's another way to get to it.
With a B.
Next. You said Yippee?
With a B. Breachers with a B.
Breachers
with a B. The reason it keeps catching me, Rowdy, is I have your face covered up with like a camera, so I'm not getting it. Okay, Preachers and Breachers. Breachers being the game, and Preachers being what you should watch after you finish a match. Next up in our lineup, Half Life Alyx has a new mod called Levitation. Adam's going to tell us all about it.
Yeah, I was actually very happy because it's been a little while since I hopped back into Half Life Alyx. So being able to have a good excuse of, well, this mod looks pretty good, that made me happy. To give you the TLDR, the synopsis, basically, you play as Alyx, of course. You're teaming up with Russell once again, and you're following the trail of 2 rebels that are Maya and Barry, who have discovered a sinister project buried deep in the Combine's Sector X. So basically, this mod is free, of course. It's expected to be about a 4 to 5 hour experience for the average player. And I found that in my playthrough, it took me about like 4.5 hours. So that was pretty much on the money. Oh, wow. I will say that, and like the 4.5 hours was me kind of looking what I thought was in most nooks and crannies, because I like to find all that hidden resin and whatnot. But apparently I did miss stuff, because there are some sort of, without spoiling it, some unlockables or discoverables that you could find. And I only found one, and this was at the very end. And I was like, oh, well, guess I wasn't as good of a scout as I thought I was. But I will say this, so it's meant to feel, I'm not going to go into any spoilers, don't worry. It's meant to feel like a continuation of Half Life Alyx, and you can tell that they put a lot of love into this mod to make it feel very natural with the campaign. There were several wow factor moments of that were very reminiscent of the original Half Life Alyx. Like, again, without going into specific spoilers, but like parts where you've been in tunnels for a while and you're going outside and you look outside and you're like, wow, the outside looks great. Or even the voice acting, which for specifically Alyx and Russell and another character that I'm not going to mention, but people could probably guess who it would be. They were very good in that I couldn't tell if they just reused Half Life Alyx voice lines and just remixed them together somehow. But they felt very natural and very good.
How do they do that these days? Because that's how they used to do it. You would take the audio segments and you'd chop them up and you'd reform them if you were doing a mod. Does AI support that yet? Yes. I haven't heard of applications.
They definitely does. So if you have enough audio files, because I know that, for example, like a program that I sometimes use for the podcast as well is called Descript, which allows you to it uses AI as well in case you want to I never do it. I just use it for the audio features, but it has an AI tool built in there as well where you can cut out a section of your audio, but also insert a section. So you can, for example, type it out, and it uses the audio that it has before to kind of mimic your voice and read out that section.
That's weird.
Did you make a podcast without us there? You could just be you and the AI crew.
I'm working for the last year.
That's how I've been doing it for the past 15 episodes, but no.
Yeah, exactly. Not even in here.
But yeah, so I don't know exactly how they do it. I mean, there are some parts where it's obvious, where there's grunts or Alyx is going, yeah. So it's they probably pulled those. But there were 2 other characters that you could tell that they must have hired or had someone do voice acting for, because they felt off unfortunately. And you could tell they probably tried their best, but it was just such a maybe because those characters you didn't know about, so it was such a stark contrast from what you expected. I don't know. I guess for those who are kind of scaredy, there are a couple minor jump scares, but nothing out of the normal from Half Life Alyx.
Right.
So like if you handled regular Half Life Alyx fine, you'll be fine in this too. Okay. I will say, again, not going to go into specifics, but in certain parts, they do use the energy, like at the end of Half Life Alyx, we have those cores. There was a part I did not like very much, that I got frustrated that they used it too much, I felt like.
So the energy was cores okay. As in like it was like a battery module, or do you mean one where you're solving that 3-dimensional puzzle?
No, those were there too, because they had your normal upgrade stations and stuff you could hack. So those were there, but no, it's at the very end of Half Life Alyx where you've got that badass moment. You can just, because you lose all your weapons. They brought that into this one too, which was good because I liked it. But the way that they used it in one instance was frustrating to me, and I just very angry with that. But anyway, but overall, I would say the story was okay. Like I wouldn't go into this expecting like, oh man, like I want to go deep into Half-Life Alyx lore. Obviously, too, it is a mod, but
of course, this is a mod, right? This is made not by a team of writers that can like write stories, levels.
It's well paced. It's well paced. So I would go into it for the experience of, I want to go and play Half-Life Alyx again with it feeling like a Half-Life Alyx map. It in that sense, they put a lot of love and care. Like some of the maps, the details in it are really well done. So you could tell that they put a lot of time into this. And it's free. So like, why not?
They were working on it for I think 2 years or something to get to this point. I think that's what I read about Levitation. So interesting. And to install this mod, is it just a simple click install on Steam Workshop, or how did you get it?
Steam Workshop, they have one of the listings has all 5 of the, I don't know what you kind of call it, episodes or packs in it. And so they will just load one into another automatically. You don't have to worry about doing a new game and going to the second section. It'll just, if you just get all 5 of them, it'll just naturally flow very well. So that was super easy.
Yeah, very good. While we're on the topic, are there any favorites that each of you have for Half-Life Alyx mods, if you have dabbled? I mean,
not really.
Unfortunately, half vanilla. I like my Half-Life Alyx vanilla.
I tried a couple, but it's not really something that I really like went into. Yeah.
I like the John Wick style one.
Yes.
Contract. I'm forgetting the name now, but the kind of contract killer one, that was pretty cool, high quality. But this Levitation one does look neat as well. Contracts is particularly amazing. I thought so. Yeah. Great. Well, let's move on to the third part then. Maybe my favorite part of today's podcast is going to be, and maybe the most spicy, salty part, is going to be The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners Chapter 2 Retribution. The longest name we've had for a game in a long time. I was trying to abbreviate it and realized that even abbreviated, it's longer than most game names. But anyway, as long as you can get that one down, Saints Chapter 2, as I'll call it from here on in, hey, the wait's over, Well, for some of us, MetaQuest 2 owners can dive into the post-apocalyptic city of New Orleans once again with the release of Chapter 2. This is coming from Skydance Interactive. Okay, so you get to return to the world and jump back into the body of the tourist who you embodied in the first game. You navigate all new threats that pose danger from the flooded city of New Orleans, and everything looks pretty familiar as you're getting in. Walkers are roaming the streets. Various individuals have risen to power, so it feels a couple of weeks or maybe a couple of months after the first story. There's also the unrelenting threat of the Axeman, bringing a new level of terror to the game. Okay, so that's pretty neat. And chainsaws.
Yeah.
Specifically to Adam's liking. Yes, exactly. Now, I did get kind of an early look at this, and I'll save my comments about the kind of early PC build for another month, because that's to come yet, although I got to tinker with that. I'll be zip-lipped with that one for now. The Quest build feels on par, I would say, with the first game. Let me just lay out as well before we talk about the survival system, and for those unfamiliar perhaps with The Walking Dead, what it entails, what does the gameplay feel like? Because this isn't just like a run and gun game. You're actually crafting recipes. You're having to survive, keep your stamina up, your health bar alive, and you're running against the clock before zombies flood a town. So it's very much kind of a looter, almost like a looter shooter. Like you're scavenging, you're trying to survive, you're following a story through. So it's got a lot of what the initial game had. But now, for those who played the first game, it's actually expanded. And again, I won't go into spoilers, but where you start off in this game surprised me quite a bit. So for example, I was surprised that they reused a lot of the assets in the intro. I was surprised that you started off in basically the same place of the first game. And for the first hour or two, things felt, I'll say, too familiar.
Samey?
Yeah, too familiar. Like, I was like, hang on a second here. There's a lot of reused stuff, right? After having spent 4 going on 5 hours into the game, it gives you a kind of a familiar home, right? So you're familiar, you're on the bus, you've got the same kind of unlocks. And there was also a reason for that. And one of the coolest features, which unfortunately wasn't available on day one, but is now, I verified this before the podcast. That was the question the podcast was asking me earlier. Does the export save game from game 1 import into game 2 work? And so it does. As of yesterday, Skydance confirmed that for me. So this is great news, because initially that was a heartbreaker for a lot of old school Saints fans who loved the first game, had survived. And as the game goes on, the more days you live, the game gets tougher, more zombies, more threat, more hazards. And so people were building up their save files, unlocking everything in preparation for this game. And then it came out and it's like, oh, sorry, save function doesn't work yet. And it's like, what? Excuse me?
Does that mean all of your recipes transfer too?
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Which is amazing, right? So if you found there were standard recipes, which are like the leveling system in the game, you unlock, a katana, or you unlock the ability to make bullets for a gun that you care about. And those weapons are stronger and will last you longer than if you just find a weapon on the ground. Okay, they're not beaten up or whatever. They're brand new. You've just made them. And similarly, food that you find, won't damage your health. If you find it damages your health. If you create it and fabricate it, it doesn't. So there are advantages to these recipes. And if in the first game you found the secret recipes, which you can find littered about the game world, you want to bring them over. But you need to have that original save file. And for me, unfortunately, I played the first game on PC. So even if I had my save file handy, which unfortunately I don't, I couldn't import it into the game. It needs to be, I think, on the headset and use the export function, which is very easy. It's on the main menu. You say export my save. It says exported, and you log into the other game and you import. It imports and you start and you can move away. So that'll be good for anyone who is a Quest native player. They've got the new game. The new game runs well. I would say there is a fair amount of pop-in and stuff that's happening, but the environment feels like Saints and Sinners. Any of the gripes you had with the first game, I think are going to be echoed here. Spongy shooting, floaty shooting is one of the things that my chat had said kind of repeatedly. Did they fix that? Does it feel snappy? Does it still have that drag as you move the hands around? And it always felt very Saints. A little Bone Lab-esque as well, because they have a similar feeling of weight to the guns. So not just the melee weapons, not just the heavy axe that you're holding, but also the gun. As you swing the gun around, it will take its time. And a lot of kind of hardcore shooters want that to be as snappy as they are, right? If I move my body quickly, I want the gun to come quickly, and Saints has never done that. This game doesn't do that either. So you're getting a Saints experience. You're getting a Saints experience. It does feel like Saints. Even the tutorial and the infamous tutorial guy are still there. So it's like the tutorial from the first game. It's Mike. Really weird. Do you know that? Yeah, Mike, the tutorial guy. So when you go through the tutorial, there's a dude who's talking to you, and again, it's a little bit of myth or whatever, but most people didn't treat him very nicely. Like you end up shooting him or axing him or whatever it is, but he dies, And then
just
another
comes out.
dude walks in. Another dude walks in, and they keep having people coming. And apparently, if you mistreat the tutorial guy, he will remember. And I don't know what that means. Maybe that comes back to you later in the game, or maybe. And I don't know. I'm guessing here because I'm not that part of the game yet. I'd love it if the tutorial guy was the Axeman, this guy who chases you around the levels.
Yes.
That would be a great twist. That would be so funny.
That's awesome.
Fucking funny. This game isn't cheap either. That's another complaint I heard. So it is for the base game, for Chapter 2, which you can play standalone. You can just, like I have, you just start off. They start you off with some recipes. You're not starting from scratch. You're not unlocking the bus. You're not, you're set up. You've got your base camp established, but it's now expanded. I won't go into much into that because it's cool how they expanded it, and I want people to be able to explore that for themselves. But the base game is $40. I probably personally would have liked to see it at $30. You can buy an edition that's $50 or get an upgrade if you've got the base game already for $50, which has a couple of extra weapon recipes called the Blessing and Fat Tuesday. And it comes with a couple of other things, collectible postcards and a demon storage shelf. I don't know what that is, but I'm always putting my the trophies that you can find around, like the angel statue. There's like a demon statue too, and I bring them back to the bus and I sit them up. And then strangely they move every time I come back to the bus. They're in a different place. I don't know. That must be a code thing. But I like my little bus area. I just wish that they had the ability for you to make the place a little bit more nice, like some Christmas lights or something. Like if I was in that horrible space, I think I would upgrade my where I was living a little bit. It's quite dimly lit, and it's like there's no way I would live that way. If
I mean, one
was
of my
living
gripes,
in a bus.
with the first one too, is it's like, I'm bringing all this, like I would collect heads like a normal person, and I would bring them to my bus just to put them on a shelf or whatever. But then I would go, off to another map and then come back and they're gone, and I'm sad because it's like it doesn't mean anything anymore. So I do wish I can understand maybe not giving you the option to go too crazy with it, just because people would probably do like a Fallout thing and just hoard stuff, and then it would bog down the system.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, keep a couple things, maybe let you know like there's a limit. Like, what if I want to collect my heads? They if you looked at them, their mouth would move. It was the creepiest thing ever. I liked it. I don't know.
Well, that's at least the second creepiest thing ever, Adam. I think you might be winning the first one.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Wow.
Just there talking to
Fascinating.
yourself.
Collecting heads.
Oh, God.
Didn't everybody? But I am sad to hear about the guns, because in the
Really?
first
That
game.
disappointed you? You didn't like that?
Well, in the first game, I didn't like how they felt, so all I did was pretty much grab heads. I would do the grab and stab. Like, I didn't really have much other of a technique other than melee. Maybe I'd experiment with different melee, but I usually ended up sticking to some kind of like a close ranged knife of some sort.
Guns kind of sucked in the first one for the reason that they make a lot of noise. And
That's true,
so
too.
they do attract zombies. They have the lovely feature from the first game, which I love. If you're new to Saints, they allow you to detect the microphone. So if you make sound, it attracts zombies. Now, if you happen to be a live streamer like me, and you're talking all the goddamn time, that gets really interesting in this game. I feel like they turned that dial up because there are zombies coming at me constantly. And it didn't help that Skydance, kind of one of their staff members, were watching, and I was like looking at the map, which now has all the cities are like kind of unlocked, and so you can pick where you want to go. In the first one, you kind of travel from one place to another, and it's a bit like drawing string on a map. You learn the story as you go. So I still recommend people play the first game, go through that full thing. That'll take you some time. Then come into the second game. And there is a bundle. You can get the two of them for $60. And I think that's a probably good price for both games back to back. That'll last you a good 25, 30 hours, I'd say. And like, it's just being able to pick where you want to go means you don't know where to go necessarily.
Yeah.
You still have your missions, you still have your chest and all that, but feels a little bit more open world that way. And I ended up taking the recommendation to go to Old Town. I'm going to issue a warning. Old Town is a hardcore place where the overrun happened. And even for veteran players, you get torn apart. I see, we have her in the chat. Thanks, Pepsi Cat. I went there thinking, this won't be so bad. There was a mission I had to do something there. And man, I got torn apart, I think 6 times in a row, and like meleeing, stabbing, like I've got 13 zombies before I know what I'm doing.
That's awesome.
It was actually loads of fun. And for the first time in about 2 years, I got scared from the things that were assaulting me. Things were just popping out that like I wasn't expecting. It wasn't a jump scare, but I was getting threatened like at a human level. So it definitely has a lot of merit. If you are a Saints player and you're a Saints fan, it was in my personal top 5. This game is for you, right? Definitely go play this. The one thing I would say is, and this is the big warning sign, if you play on PC or you prefer to play on PC, even though it's cross-buy, you're probably going to want to wait because this game is coming out for PC VR a little bit later. It's coming to PSVR 2 as well. So in February, we're going to get it on PC. And the difference in visuals, given that I've seen the both, even of an early PC build, the difference in visuals, which you can see in a bunch of YouTuber creator videos and stuff like that, are way better on PC. They look great. So I would say if you're a hardcore visuals person, wait. Because the game is worth waiting
even
for.
If you want to play the game as it's supposed to be played, right? Because this game is originally made for a PC title and then was brought to Quest. But it's not the other way around.
Yeah,
even
exactly.
though they're bringing it out first now on Quest, like.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Rowdy. So first out on PC, then converted to other platforms. I believe it's on PSVR 1, if I'm not mistaken, and Quest on the first game.
I don't know.
Did that make it? I don't remember. There's going to be a physical edition of the PSVR 2 release. So that's PSVR 2 coming out March 21st. So that's quite a ways to wait if you're just a PSVR 2 pre-order, will be owning PSVR 2 player. But the PC version sometime in February. And I think they're not giving a specific date because they're hoping for early February, might slip later, that type of thing. But it's okay. I mean, I think it's going to be worth the wait. I like the extension. It does feel, so far, I'm only 5 hours in, and I haven't met the Axeman myself yet. It does feel like more like a heavy DLC or like a heavy expansion. And that might be because of all the reused assets and stuff, but it's not as fresh-faced as I was expecting. But given they're allowing their hardcore audience to port the save over, I think that's really good. I'll tell you one thing, and this is just an idea before we kind of wrap up on this, and I'll ask if anyone else has been playing it as well. But the save import export import thing is a great facet. But one thing that I've not seen a single VR company do, and I think it's because of the cross-platform craziness that is behind the scenes, is no one has had a consistent, persistent save file. So for example, when I play Demia with Rowdy, I have a different progress level on my Quest headset versus when I play on PC. It doesn't matter if I'm in the Meta Quest store. It's not the same save file. I'm progressing separately. Same thing here. It's cross-buy, but if you play on the Quest, your progress is not transforming to the PC build. And I've never seen that. After the Fall, it's very similar. After the Fall, I've got different progress on the two headsets. And this is my plea. My plea to VR developers, I know this is going to be difficult, and some dev is going to say to me, it just can't be done, Zim, or it's just too difficult right now. But what I want is I want to get to the Nintendo Switch of VR, right? I want to be able to pick up and go on a trip like Jose, right? A lot of us are adults who are busy. We're traveling and stuff. I want to bring my VR device with me. I don't necessarily want to open firewall ports and poke back to my home PC and deal with the latency that's there, even though Guy Godin's done a great job with Virtual Desktop. I want to play the Quest build, the lightweight, travel version, and I want to play the PC VR build. And I think there are going to be more and more players doing that in the future. So I hope that Meta takes that into consideration with their Quest 3, that it's strong enough, maybe that we're finally going to be able to allow what is the PC VR build to be running on the Quest 3. Maybe it's still too early.
Which is what we're seeing, which is what happened very recently with consoles, right? So it is definitely coming for VR. x86 back in the day, you had like developers making like 7 different versions of the games, and the PS4 is pretty much a PC now. They're using the same architecture so that they streamline the development process. So I'm pretty sure, and funny enough, Meta has been getting towards exactly that, right? There's a reason why they abandoned the old school tracking style and decided to go with the open VR standard and embraced it because of that reason. It's eventually everything will be moving over to.
It's got to merge, right?
It has to. I
definitely want it now, though. I'm one of those like
same
gamers who's like, it just seems like from a gamer's perspective, you're like, it's so easy, just connect them, right? But it's the old adage of multiplayer. So yeah, having a very good time. with Saints and Sinners. They haven't disappointed me. I'm really enjoying it. As I said, I was a little shocked at the intro, the reused assets and scenes and characters and all that. There are new characters and stuff as well to keep it interesting. Can't wait to play more.
Also, when Zim says that he has been playing for 5 hours, that means he's just finished looking at the main menu and also the tutorial. But that's roughly where he's probably at right now.
It's not far off the truth. Their 15 hours is probably 30 to 40 for me.
Yeah.
I'm a bit slow when it comes to my games, but I just need to get more game time. So, any of you played it yet?
Not yet.
No.
No.
Yet, Jose, you've been busy, and Adam's been doing levitating.
I have my save on Steam. I want to play it pretty. So it's really, I mean, I can understand, like Quest's big headset, big platform, a lot of people have it more than PC VR, but it still makes me sad. I've just been sitting here like just huffing, and I'm like, I have to wait till February. And then if I do decide to make content on it, it's like kind of already been out and people have played it and finished
from
it.
The creator side, isn't it? It's like, yeah.
But I do want to wait because I want to link my save properly. I want to have all the stuff I worked for. I want it to look pretty. I don't want it to look muddy and weird and just like, especially having played the Steam version, I don't know if I could go to the Quest version and then be completely happy, like that, because I know what was. But so it's I'm sad, but.
It's weird how your brain fills in the gaps. That's all I'll say, right? Because like I play After the Fall and I played Saints all on desktop, and for a time there, before the industry kind of moved on from PC VR, we would get the desktop release first, and then they'd have to work on whittling it down and compressing it to get it into the headset. And now we've got the flip side, because that's where all the money is, and so they do the mobile build first and get that out for us. I don't know. I'd like to see that normalize. Let's get it on both platforms at some point. I think what Jose said is going to ring true, and we're only a couple of years off of it, and we'll be seeing the equity there across those two platforms. That'll be good, but
I hope so.
Very good. And Rowdy, I think you said you're probably not going to check this out. It's not for you.
I mean, I might check it out once it comes to
PC.
Actually Steam, like PC. Yeah. That's maybe the time that I'll pick it up. But I mean, like it doesn't feel like anything new for me. So it's like it feels like more of the same, which is good. I mean, the game is good, but I don't know if I'm really that into it. Yeah. It's maybe not really my kind of thing.
Some of their level tricks and stuff are quite good. So that's what started to tip me off. But I'm curious to meet the Axeman and see what he's got in for us.
Yeah.
So with that, every podcast we touch on upcoming releases just to see what's coming in the future. What can we buy? What can we play? December's been a pretty good month so far. And Jose's going to tell us what it's got in store for us next.
All right. So starting up with Hubris VR. It looks like it's getting the PC VR release on December 7th. It looks to be $39.99 US. That's £33.69 for UK listeners. Have you guys played Hubris?
Yes, actually. Got an early intro during Steam Next earlier this year. There's a lot of tentacles.
Right.
There's a lot.
Yes, lots of tentacles.
A lot of tentacles.
Adam cheered up there. Like, I don't know about that.
I'm awake now.
Adam, if
She's
you
gonna
have
start
not,
collecting tentacles instead of heads.
Yes.
this is
Dreams do come
honestly, be excited, Adam. The best tentacles VR has ever seen. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the games look pretty. I've seen it.
Yes.
It looks gorgeous.
Very
So
pretty.
it's high quality
Beautiful.
tentacles.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And they
Full
glow.
def.
There's like
High def.
what is it called? Translucent tentacles and all that. But yeah. So that's releasing on December 7th. Up next, of course, we spoke about it earlier. Gorilla Tag, the holiday boom rush game, as I like to call it. Free. It looks like some coming out soon. Number 3, I have Arcade Legend, which is a game that I selfishly added to the list because I love the concept. I'm in the arcade space, right? So I love the idea of building an arcade and starting to see and interacting with the games and exploring them. It's a very beautiful joy. I believe, let me see if I wrote it here. There's no release date yet announced. Actually, no.
It's been in development
December 8th.
for a while, right?
Yeah,
I know
actually,
I kept an eye on them. They were at PAX, and I got to try it there, and I was like, "This is pretty cool," but they've never had like a date yet.
Is this the
Always
one with
did-
the arcade cabinets that does emulation support?
Yes.
Okay.
But I think they removed the emulation support. I think they actually now have custom games in there. I'm not entirely sure, but I do. The interesting part about it is that they added a story to the actual game. So you're building an arcade, and there's a story. I don't really know the details about it. That's something I really want to delve in and figure out what exactly does the story look like. Is it like, you know, you're a grassroots creator, but there's like a shooting section that I saw in the trailer too, so I don't really know what they're going with this. So I'm like super psyched about that.
I guess the developers before used to actually own like an arcade company, so they actually are able to get the licensing for a lot of the official games that you would see and stuff, like a Dave & Buster's. Like I forget, I don't know the names of them, but that light one where you just have to hit all the light buttons super quick. Like there's like actual arcade games that they're going to be able to bring into this just because of licensing and what he used to do. And so it's, I don't know, it's pretty cool. It's interesting.
Okay, this is the one that's very. This is like Purehead Arcade. This is like a more recent, as you say, like official licensed version of Purehead Arcade. Be interesting to see how that stacks up, because Purehead is, in my opinion, has done that the best so far, and we'll see how they do, because they're covering very similar games. So
that's Arcade Legend, right?
Arcade Legends. Yep. Yeah. And last one I have listed here is Vox Machina. They have the Big Bang update. Looks to be $30 USD, about $24, 24 pounds. Sorry. It's a huge update for the Vox Machina franchise. Looks like they're just pretty much doubled down on all the assets. So they pretty much expanded on guns, action, mechanics. I did see that the trailer was boasting more mechs and more options about how to navigate them. So I'm super excited about it. One of my friends calls it he calls it a mecha swan song. You know what I mean? So it's very cool to see the update, that I believe it is actually out.
That one's out.
So yeah, it was officially out.
Great, man. Vox is fantastic. Like giant sandworms and just the way you're able to blast yourself into the air. I used to run multiplayer events with that, and it's
rocket jumping is so rad.
The thing that I saw on the weapon list for the update that's coming is they have like aerial mines. So you're not just going to be able to jump in the air without consequence now. You know, you can't just shoot all the way up into the sky. So really interested.
They nerfed it. Yeah, jumping is actually a way to actually like break the game a little bit. So it's actually cool that they're actually thinking about aerial combat now. It's super nice.
Yeah. Well, you see the proper guys who know how to ram. We played with a team who played competitively, and they do like an aerial jump and like just boost at the right time and ram you out of midair. I was just insane. Absolutely,
that's cool. So awesome.
That's another one we could play together. Okay, so I'm
that one I'm all in. I'm all about the mecha. I'm all about mech fighting. That's my jams.
Oh man, fantastic. Well, those sound like some good releases coming our way. For those who aren't interested in Gorilla Tag, you can jump into a mech, play some with some arcade cabinets or that. Oh, very good. Well, all right. Well, chat, we're going to read our last rights here. So let us know if you got questions before we wrap the show up. FReality crew live streams every other Saturday on YouTube and Twitch. Show goes live at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, and 6 p.m. in the UK. If you're not here for the live event, that's not a problem, because we do Spotify and iTunes and SoundCloud. Subscribe, like the video, and share with Grandad and his poker buddies, and we'll keep entertaining you with the latest in the VR news. Chat, if you have anything for us, let us know. Someone's there asking, are any of you guys trying the EUC monowheel? What is an EUC monowheel?
I've not heard of that term.
Jose, is that something you know?
Does anyone know what a monowheel is?
I feel like this is gonna turn into like at some point like a prank call where you like they write like something like, you know, and then you read it out loud. You go like
the Simpsons.
Wait a minute.
Bart making joke calls.
Yeah, see more butts. That's what we're.
See more butts.
So I have no idea, DIY, what that is. He said,
is it like a unicycle in VR or something? Or
you have to.
That's what I'm imagining. Is somebody with like a VR headset,
winky face.
I gotta answer this. Okay, 1 second. I'm gonna do a quick
find
search
some scary
and see.
Stuff now.
Yeah, I'm worried.
Is this something that you shouldn't Google?
Oh my God, it's expensive. Okay, so this is one of those. The monowheel is one of those. You know those rideable suitcases for kids that then grew up and became a single wheel unicycle that's motorized, that has storage in it and an engine? It's one of those. Sounds like something Rowdy would try and then bail
Yeah.
and come on the podcast with a big black eye or something.
Yeah, for sure.
I do like the ones that I did see those, and I did have one of those moments of like, what if? But I did see I think it was at LAX airport, but they have like little suitcase that follow you using AI, and they track you everywhere, so it holds your bags.
I don't trust that at all, man. Modern AI, like you put all your stuff in it, and then it just like goes off or dies.
Somebody hijacks it, just drives off. With their
Not
stuff
yet. Oh Jesus!
That's awesome.
That's like Tesla tech in a suitcase. Yeah. Shirzad said, "Is 120 hertz on a Pro been confirmed for PC?" Thanks for the super chat. Any idea there, Jose? You're a Pro user.
Not yet. Just 60. I do know that it's possible. I don't see why not. I think what's going on, honestly, if we're gonna bring that up right now, that's real quick. I've been having a very, very bad time with PC VR streaming with the Quest Pro.
Right.
I know there's a lot of latency issues happening. There's some drivers that have not been fully released yet. I believe it's using Wi-Fi 5 at the moment, not Wi-Fi 6 for connectivity. It does have a Wi-Fi 6 chip in it. So I've been actually going back to my Quest 2 a lot for PC VR. It is unfortunate.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I also heard that I know we were touted to get it in December, I think, was the Quest 2 backwards compatibility for the controllers. So you would at least hopefully be able to pair the controllers with your Quest 2 and benefit from that. But right now, not out yet, is what I've read.
And it's definitely not fun to stream PCVR. And I've been I was actually debugging that right now. I actually bought like a PCI wireless card to see if I could like find some halfway step to make PCVR good with the Quest Pro, but I'm just stuck at the moment, just waiting for the drivers to release and see what happens.
Please continue to keep us updated, Jose, on that, because I'm very interested in. We've got a lot of people who own pros now and are very interested. And if anyone's going to find a way, we know it's you.
Well, definitely.
You got the know-how.
Find a way,
right?
Jose.
I'll try.
That is it. Well, unless chat's got anything else, guys.
No, I don't think so.
I think we're good.
Okay. We'll put a bow on this one. Thanks for the fun times again today. Appreciation to our sponsor. I can't wait to see the Resolution Games Showcase on December 15th and all the other things that we've got happening on December 15th. I should take the day off. Go play.
Let's do it.
Some games and relax, everybody. You've almost survived another crazy year on this mad planet, and we'll see you again in mid-December. Cheers, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.